I'm having a blast driving around. Yeah, that was a fast lap.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah?
What are you doing, man?
I'm just writing a quick post to the Need for Speed community on Ecency.
A what for who community?
The Need for Speed community. It's the community on Hive that's all about racing.
How do I get into this?
Just go to Ecency.com, sign up for an account, and download the app.
Dude, that's really cool. But now you gotta go.
Yeah, I'm on there every day.
No. I mean, go, man. Go.
Okay, let's go.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the season semi-finale of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series. We are here today at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the granddaddy of all races on the North American side of the hemisphere. The Indianapolis 500 here today. Folks, I'm excited. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad bringing you the action here today, and joined alongside me a fella that has quite the experience in the booth, around 25 years, if I recall correctly, Wesley Outland with CRN Radio Network as well as LSR TV. Wesley, thank you for joining me here in the booth, and welcome to SRE's showing of the Indianapolis 500.
Hey, thank you very much, Mason. Of course, you could also add, MAV TV, Fox Sports Radio, Racing America, Speed 51 when that was in existence, and so much more. So I've been truly blessed, bud. And I'm telling you, this is my second Indianapolis 500-mile race to do for iRacing, and it just seems like it's the real deal. These guys are going to put on some exciting racing. I'm excited to be a part of the Sim Racers Edge and Team Goon Squad broadcast. We're going to have some fun here tonight at Indianapolis. This is a long race. And that's what you got to remember. It's 500 miles, 200 laps on the 2.5-mile track. You got to pace yourself, but you can't become lazy. And the word that I mean by lazy, no term of disrespect, is you can't become complacent, because if you do, somebody is going to capitalize and take advantage on you.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, and that's what this whole season has seen a lot of that, Wesley. Just exactly what you said there. You know, we've seen drivers that have been pushing it all the way until the very, very edge of their abilities, and really it's been a phenomenal season this entire time. We've seen incredible battles, race after race. I mean, Rick Ravon, unfortunately not able to join us here at the moment, as he is currently in the race here today. He has been able to help us here in the booth and been able to, showcase some of the action that we've seen here at SRE. And frankly, Wesley, it's been incredible what these drivers have done all season long and leading up until this race. It has been incredible watching some of the amazing battles that we have seen here. Oh, we've got a little bit of an incident here between Ryan Cruz, and it looks like, who was that? I can't see the number on that other car there. Looks like Yari Brupatcher might have been the car involved there. But, folks, we are here right now. We are taking a little bit of time to talk about qualifying for this race here today. Now, drivers have already completed their qualifying run here, obviously, given that the real-life Indianapolis 500 normally follows the same format. So, drivers have already completed their qualifying, and right now, at the very tippy top of the qualifying lineup here is Chad Simpson with a 39.314 as his best time. Excuse me, I'm getting my bearings back here. Butch Davis was the name that I was looking for. 39.337 as his best time, taking second place. Chris Simard with a 39.364, rounding out your top three here. Now, Wesley, this is your second race that you've covered here for the virtual Indianapolis 500. What are you really expecting out of this race here, given that these are obviously the Dallara IR-18s? IndyCar racing is always, I'd say, a little bit more tense. Open wheel racing just always tends to have, I don't know, a little bit of a different energy. What do you think?
I think it's one of those deals where, as we watch continuation of this final warm-up session before the races, as you said, they qualified for the series last week or back on May the 12th. So the lineup has already been set. Now, I'm understanding that there's going to be some drivers here that might not be able to make the race because either they're actually at the real Indianapolis Motor Speedway, carb days tomorrow. I had a great interview on Finish Line, my Fox Sports radio show yesterday with actually Alan Bestwick and Mark James, colleague and friends of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we talked about things. And as far as for this race, kind of going back to the majors race I did a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday night, I think it's the same format. Obviously, you got to pace yourself, and I've said that already in the introduction, but the snaking, the taking advantage of the dirty air, looking for those opportunities to make the pass, knowing when it's not the right time to make the pass, knowing when the strategy is to move forward or kind of play possum. If these drivers, whoever they are, the 33 starters or more, can do that, that person that will methodically be able to play that virtual mind game on the field, if you will, on the track with these competitors, Mason, they're going to be the one that's going to win the race.
Yeah, and it's a really, really long race that we have looking forward to us, obviously. This is the Indy 500, and I believe it's 200 grueling laps around this track that we are going to see here today. And frankly, throughout the season, again, I already touched on this a little bit. We've seen a lot of very competitive racing out of all of these drivers here. Now, just to name a couple drivers, Chris Simard, Rick Ravon. Well, Rick Ravon, he's been in the booth with me. I can't exactly say that he was up there. But Butch Davis, to name one of them, Ryan Cruz, Kevin O'Brien. I mean, there's a handful of drivers up here that have all seen an incredible season and have battled for the season lead here, as right now, if I'm not mistaken, looking at this current championship standings, it's Nate Siefker with the lead, Nate Siefker has had an incredible season thus far with 6 wins in this entire season. Out of this 14-race season, he's had 6 wins, with Butch Davis just behind him with 4 wins. Now, ironically, these two drivers have kind of swapped back and forth for that lead in the championship, and Butch Davis was very, very close to being able to hold on to that lead in the championship. Now, again, if you have followed the action here with Sim Racer's Edge for some time, you will know that Butch Davis does have some medical problems that he has experienced in past races that have hindered him from being as competitive as he would like to be in these races. So something to look out for. Not always something that you want to have to deal with as a driver, but Butch Davis going out there and performing as well as he has, even considering that, is just phenomenal. So the fact that we have drivers out there like Butch Davis that are trying to work around, having, I believe it's half of their face not really functioning properly, and he's having to drive with one eye closed. It's a whole mess there for Butch Davis, but he has worked through it like a champion. And frankly, here today for the Indianapolis 500, if a driver like Butch Davis is able to do just like what you said, Wesley, which personally he has done that before, I think he might be able to put himself back up there in contention for the lead for the championship. So, Wesley, this is going to be a very tense night for both Butch Davis, Nate Siefker, and then for every other driver that has completed their qualifying for this race here. So, and again, looking back at qualifying right now, Chad Simpson going to be at the tippy top of the field, Butch Davis in second, Chris Simard in third, Chris Walker in fourth, and Lyle Swearingen going to be in fifth place, taking up the top 5. And with just a little bit over a minute left here before our warm-up concludes and we get ourselves ready to get ourselves lined up behind the pace car for the very first time and get ourselves started for the first lap of 200 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 500 with Sim Racer's Edge, presented by Ecency.com. I'd like to also take this moment to shout out Ecency. Set it free, be free. A great service that you guys should check out if you would like to try out a new type of social media. A great new service that has an excellent racing community. So, with that in mind, Wesley, how are you feeling, man? Let's let's just kind of take
Hey,
a breather here.
I'm ready, brother. Let's rock and roll. It's time. I mean, I'm kind of like I'm the one that's ecstatic here in the booth, ready to go. You got all these other guys here that have been grinding for the last 2 weeks and practicing and getting the mindset here. And one thing I looked at on the schedule, as you hinted on the point standings earlier for this series. One thing for the Sim Racers Edge is they don't normally run a full capacity 100% race. Normally it's like maybe 60%, 70%, 50% on race distance. This is a full 100% 500 mile, 200 lap race here at Indianapolis. So it's going to be exciting and fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people kind of don't really take that into consideration. Yeah, you're sitting at home, you're sitting in your sim rig, but it's still 200 laps. Folks, we could possibly see upwards of a 3-hour or longer race here tonight. So these drivers definitely have a lot ahead of them to work towards, and it's going to be a very fun night. So let's go ahead and run through our starting grid here. I'll take the top 10, Wesley, and if you want to take the next top 10, and we'll kind of go from there. Chad Simpson going to be in the number 42 machine with Satellite Racing's taking first place. Butch Davis with FBR Motorsports, the number 43 machine, taking second place. Rounding out the first row, Chris Simard, third place in the 77. With Chris Walker starting on the outside in the 23 machine, starting off in fourth place. That's going to take our second row. Lyle Swearingen starting off in fifth place. Rick Ravon in sixth place, rounding out your third row. Dan Brazington in seventh. Bentley Glazer in eighth place. Jeffrey Rowlett in ninth. And Jeffrey Boggin in 10th place.
Moving on to row number 6, Jeff Hollinsworth, the 97 from North Carolina, 11th. Brett Beasley from the United States for TJ Racing in the 69. Row number 7, of course, there we go. Timmy Bates in the 21-3 Jokers Racing entry. Carl Burke, the legend. Man, this guy had a third-place finish in the Majors Indy 500 for the American Sportsman. He'll be ready to go in the 53. Mike Grandy Sr. in the number 12, followed by Kevin Young in the 00. Moving on to row number 9, Kevin O'Brien from, of course, Australia, New Zealand in the 84. And then, of course, the Texas native, the 48 of Chili's, Jose Phillips. Top 10 rows, Jerry Brewpatcher there in the number 89, and Dale Weiser in the 24. There's your top 20.
And taking 21st is Ernie Ludwig. In the number 26 machine, Mark McFadden. In the number 5 machine, taking 22nd here, Paul Crumry. The 15, taking 23rd, Jake Walsh in 24th. Heading on down the line here, Shane Loveridge in 25th. Ryan Cruz starting off in 26th here with Raul Alvarez rounding out the field here in 27th. So, 27 drivers that we have present here for today's race, and frankly, that is quite the field to have here for an event like this, I'd say.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, we lost some drivers. I think we had 25 take time. I think they're all here. Some other guys that didn't take no time are here as well, but at least the 35 entries, 27 of 35 ready to go here. And it's almost go time. Indianapolis, strap in, hold on. 500 miles, 200 laps. Mason Heimbach, it should be a good one.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good one as the green flag flies. Chad Simpson, Butch Davis on the loud pedal here as we head our way into turn 1. You can see Chris Walker duking it out with Rick Ravon as that number 7 machine. Rick Ravon down on the inside. We already got carnage happening down the backfield. It's Lyle Swearingen involved in a little bit of an incident here in that 68 car. The yellow flag flies here for the very first time. Let's see if we can take a gander at what exactly just unfolded here for that number 68 car. We were kind of focused on the front of the field here, so we're going to take a look here with the number 68 car. Heading on down into turn 1. Right nice down on the apron here. We're going to speed things up here.
He lost it. I just think he drove too hard in the corner, and the car came out from under him. Look at that. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yep, just right. Yeah, and that is something that was mentioned to us before the start of the race, is that the first lap or two of this race is probably the hardest because you're starting on those cold tires. It definitely takes a little bit of time to get those tires warmed up, get them up to temperature, and really get the grip out of them that you want and need for the start of the race here. So ultimately, Lyle Swearingen going to be the first driver to kind of bite the bullet on that first start here. But Lyle Swearingen, a very strong driver. I don't think it will take him very long at all to get himself back up here in contention with the rest of the field. But as we get ourselves back behind the iRacing pace car, Chad Simpson looking like he's about to drive right on past the pace car. He might be going down into the pits. He can't be going down there.
I think he just speeded up a little too fast. You better get him back, or they're going to penalize him here. So yeah, he gets back on behind the pace car. He's good. There
we go. Yeah. So Wesley, this is I kind of expected this kind of towards the start. Drivers are going to all be really. This is where the excitement's the highest. It's the first lap of the race. You have this 200 lap ticker kind of in front of you, just glaring at you. And really, what do you think these drivers are going to be thinking about here in these first, let's say, 20, 30 laps?
Well, again, as I said earlier, you got to pace yourself. This is a long race, okay? 500 miles, 200 laps. This is a grueling contest of man and machine here virtually. So these drivers have got to really pace themselves. You cannot be aggressive. And you saw what happened there to the 68 car. I mean, Swearingen, no harm, no foul as far as damage on the car, but I just think he drove in there a little too hard. The car came out from under him and around he went. He's got a mulligan. He can keep on going here, but it'll be in the back. But as far as everyone else, take your time. You mentioned that the first couple of laps is kind of the most grueling and dangerous in the real 500 on Sunday, or even in this one. It is because you got to get away from all these cars. You got to clear all that dirty air. You've got so much things that are going on around you that you've got to be able to get right, if you will. And once you kind of break away and you fan out in that pack, and then you kind of distance yourself away from the pack, because you think as bunched up as they're going to be right there, it's going to be at the start of the race, Mason. The closest that the pack will ever be for the remainder of this race is right here, right now, with the start. Now that the caution's out, it's going to be a single file restart. The leader has the option to leave when the pace car pulls in. He can set sail and leave pace and set the field, is what I meant to say. So the amongst of all the dirty air and all of the, what you would say close to drafting would be right here at the start that we just saw. Now I think things can calm down. Don't get involved in these wrecks. Pace yourself. This is a long race here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Wesley. And we're going to have to see just how patient some of these drivers are going to be at the start of this race. Now, again, we've seen a lot of drivers in the past. Wesley, I know you personally probably haven't, but in this season, we've seen drivers that, they have started the race lap 1 and they're driving it like the white flag is out. You can't be that aggressive. I mean, you can't. I always say this, whether it's in real life or virtual, to first win the race, you must first finish. And that's common sense. I mean, that's basically, if you want to be there at the end, Mason, you got to run a smart race at the start. And you can't be wrecking on lap number 1. You can't do that. I'm not saying anything bad about the guy that brought out the caution, because obviously, the driver, Swearingen, didn't damage the car. He got himself a mulligan, as I mentioned. He could be able to keep on. But with that being said, Mason, he's put himself in a better position. He put himself in a worse spot to get caught up in another accident because he's not up in the front like he was. Yeah, and it's really tough to kind of put yourself in that situation, but it's bound to happen. Some of these drivers, like I said, excitement's going to be there. Drivers are going to be on the edge, and it's very easy, folks. On these cold tires, it's very, very easy to unsettle that car, get that rear end away from you. But with that out of the way, folks, it looks like the lights are off on our pace car here, and we will see that beautiful iRacing safety car make its way down into pit road here in just a short amount of time, and there it goes.
Remember, Mason, what I was telling you, see how everybody's all single file? They're not 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 like Noah leading the animals to the ark anymore. They're single file. The leader can take off. He's got clean air in front of everyone. He takes off, and everyone else will follow. Look at the lead Simpson has as he goes off into the north end of the speedway to the short chute in turn 1.
Very, very good work here. But look at the work that Butch Davis is putting in right now as well. Davis here, you know, Wesley, Davis is a phenomenal driver behind that 43 car. Chad Simpson as well. You know, these two drivers, they're both teammates. Chad Simpson is very well known for putting up a good fight, even with the teammate here of Butch Davis. But Butch Davis, there he goes. He's out in front of that number 42 car of Chad Simpson. Chad not really giving him a whole lot of hassle there for that lead, but there we go. The 43 car is taking the lead here. Lap number 6 of the Indianapolis 500. Wesley, this is going to be quite the race here. And Chad Simpson, he's going back down on the inside, you know, and I think we're going to see these two kind of swap back and forth here for positions for quite some time, as we're going to try and get a look here at some of the other action happening down on track.
Yeah, went for that crossover move down at the bottom of turn number 2 off the short chute of 1. He made that move, and he stakes his way to the top spot as the leaders now work their way into the corner, down to the turn 3 west end of the speedway. Off of turn number 4 now. They'll exit off the turn, coming back to start finish. Still a long way to go in this race, as we mentioned. And all the while, it is Mr. Rick Raven now going to the lead. Raven up 5 spots. Chad Simpson, Butch Davis now the top 3 as they cross the yard of bricks.
And Rick Raven, he has spent the last, I would say, better part of, well, really the majority of the season up here in the booth with myself, covering a lot of the action here for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series. And Rick was very, very adamant and very excited to be here tonight for the Indianapolis 500 with Sim Racers Edge. And right now, I think he is ecstatic to be up there leading this race, lap 7 of 200, and has worked his way up 5 spots. Like you mentioned there, Wesley, he's doing a fantastic job right now, and frankly, he's starting to pull away with quite a little bit of a gap here. He's got a little bit more time to really extend that even further here, but looking just behind them, Chris Walker is starting to come up behind the 43 car of Butch Davis, who was in the lead just a few laps ago. As the caution is out, let's find out what's going on here.
Another yellow flag here in the virtual Indy 500 for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series, and well, we'll find out what the problem is. As here is our Team Goon Squad instant replay.
We're going to see exactly what unfolded here. I'm not exactly certain what car.
Is the 68 back in that shenanigans again? Look at this. They tried it. Well, I mean, didn't stick it 3 wide.
Oh, who is this up here?
So whoever it was, this is where it started.
Is that Kevin O'Brien? No, that was not Kevin O'Brien. I believe it was Mr. Ernie Ludwig. Let's take one more look at that here, folks. I apologize. SDK failed to let me know which driver that it was this time, but hey, you know what? That's part of our job to be paying attention to these types of things.
So the thing is, though, Mason, I don't think that he wrecked. I think, if anything, he just had some wheel spin, and he ran up the wall there.
Oh, there's the contact.
Correctly. There it is. But that's the thing right there. You see how he got dirt tracked and sideways, but then he kept going? He might have had some damage to the car, but other than that, he never, like, really lost control and hit the wall and crashed. And then that made everybody else get on the binders behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really tough, too. You know, oh, man. This early on in the race, I mean, you're doing all that you can to prevent situations like that. But you mentioned just a little while ago, Wesley, you know, trying to avoid these wrecks, trying to stay away from the rest of the pack, or even just get away from the rest of the pack. It takes time. It takes quite a few number of laps before we see this field really start to stretch out, and you're able to kind of give yourself enough wiggle room that you don't have to worry about, you know, coming in on the driver in front of you really, really hot, and you don't have any time to slow yourself down and get out of the way. I mean, frankly, it happens in real life racing where, you know, drivers have all the space in the world and they almost end up in the side of another car. I've definitely seen that a number of times. But
oh yeah.
So, point being, though, you know, we got clear, beautiful skies here at virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway, excuse me. And right now, this is really just the best time, I think, to find that pocket on the track that isn't seeing as much activity that works for you, I suppose. I mean, it's so tough to find that balance here, I think, when you have this field bunched up the way that it is at the very start of the race.
So we're 10 laps into this race, okay? We're at least 20 miles already completed here for this this Indianapolis 500-mile race for this series, okay? So there's still a long way to go. Yeah, they did have that green flag run there for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series deal, and there's still, and mind you, still a lot of racing left to go. There's still a long race left to go here. So you got Ray Vaughn doing what he needs to do. He's staying up in a comfortable spot. And as I said when we saw the drop of the green flag, honestly, you know, Mason, that you saw how Simpson took off, and then quickly Ray Vaughn snaked around him. Butch Davis is in the hunt. Walker, you know, Simmert, all these drivers, you know, are guys that we're still too early into this race. I mean, don't take anything into it. I'm not saying anything bad about the drivers that are up in the front, but it's still early. There might be a totally new, different top 10 as we reach the end. And that's the deal. You got to be there at the end. You want to be there. If you can be consistent and ride and drive and just knock off laps and pace yourself up in the front like these guys are right now, then that's good, Mason. But if not, I just think we're too early to determine that these are going to be the guys to decide to win the race.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely way, way too early right now to call, you know, who's even going to be in the top 3, let alone top 5, top 10 for that matter. I mean, this is still extremely early in the race, and we've seen it in the past couple races where we've seen leaders be dropped out of the race because of an incident, of a racing incident, and it's been crushing. It's been absolutely crushing, and it's completely changed the way that the field has ended. Now, we've also seen races where the field is kind of just like a deck of cards, just shuffled back and forth all over the place, just all race long. So that could be one of the cases here tonight as well, where we see just that. But the other interesting part here is that we still have to expect pit stops.
Oh, yes.
Pit stop strategies are definitely going to be crucial here. I'm going to be paying attention to that. Now, the two drivers that are going to be...
Waved off the restart, by the way. The lights were off on the pace car, but they just put the pace car lights back on. So whatever's going on, they waved off the restart.
Okay, I haven't seen anything here with...
And I'll say this as well, Mason, to add to your point on pit stops as well. Yes, you are going to have to pit. The average pit stops in the race that I did a couple of weeks ago for the Major Series, which is kind of mimicking the same thing, the same Dallara IR-18 cars, everything, the format, the race, is between 33 to 35 laps. So between 33 to 35 laps, you're going to see green flag pit stops. Whether it's green, caution, doesn't matter. They're going to have to pit between 33 to 40. Now, with that also said, that's only 100 miles of the race. Another thing that you got to remember, too, Mason, is they're not like no overtime or green-white checker or extra laps. This is a true format of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. The only number that these teams need to get to, my friend, is lap 200. There's not an overtime. If we finish under caution on lap 200, then the race finishes under yellow. If they race to lap 200, then so be it. But these drivers know that the key goal when they work on their strategy for fuel and car setup is to get to lap 200.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be exciting to see how all these teams have their strategy set up for tonight's race. I mean, it's going to be pretty close to all one another, but we've seen things kind of just a gear in the wrench being thrown to these drivers, essentially, time and time again. And they've had to change their strategies on the fly, so it's always interesting to see just how these drivers handle that kind of on-the-fly changes as they see fit. But as the lights have gone back off on the pace car, we are heading our way down the back straightaway here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, heading on into turn 3. And we're going to get ourselves ready to get back to green flag racing here. Once we come across the checkered line, it'll be lap 13 of 200. After this second caution here, let's hope that drivers will start to see, well, a good solid green flag run here. A lot of these drivers here, you know, they really start to shine when you start to see those just really long green flag runs, and it really just, it showcases a lot of these drivers' strengths here tonight, Wesley.
Yeah, again, as you said, these green flag runs you got to pace yourself. And when you go green caution, cautions breed caution. So we've had 2 yellow flags in the opening, dozen laps. So yeah, closing in on 25 miles into this race here for the greatest virtual spectacle of iRacing for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series. They come back down across the yard of bricks around the pagoda. Green flag goes back in the air. We're back to it again here in Indianapolis. It's Rayvon, Simpson, Davis, top 3. They're down into the speedway into turn 1.
In and out of turn 2 they go, and down the back straightaway we come now, as the leaders have really just gone single file here. There's quite the distance spread out between a lot of our field here, as it looks like we had one driver get themselves a little bit loose here, all in their lonesome, and look at that right rear tire there.
Right. Yeah, he's got some problems there, but he's going to lose ground. To answer your question, somebody had asked what was the 2 cautions for Lauren Wong. To answer your question, the original start of the race, we had a caution on the start in turn number 1 and 2 in the turn 1 short shoot with Lyle Swernigan going around. And just a moment ago, the second yellow flag just wrapped up with problems for Ernie Ludwig. Other than that, we're back under green flag here at Indianapolis. And again, they work lap number 14. Rayvon, Simpson, Davis. There's a battle now. Walker running after Davis in turn number 3.
Walker is pushing himself to the rear end of the 43 of Butch Davis as we ride along with the helmet camera of that 23 of Chris Walker, the owner and founder of Sim Racers Edge here, currently sitting in 4th place, charging his way across the checkered line, heading into turn 1. As we look now, you can see Chad Simpson, the number 42 car, able to work his way up into 1st place here as we come into turn 2 now.
Certainly did, man. Worked off of that north end of the speedway, off the short chute into turn 2 to the back straightaway. They roar here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and now the new leader is the driver, of course, of Chad Simpson. He got around Rick Rayvon while we were watching Chris Walker and Butch Davis go at it for position. Those cars still fighting for those spots as things now still stay snaking off of turn number 4 back to the start-finish line.
You know, I like that description, snaking. You know, that's kind of what we see here right now as Rick Rayvon, he's challenging the leader, Chad Simpson, going down on the inside into turn 1. He's able to make the pass into 1st place. Heading on into turn 2 now. Rick Rayvon is going to take the lead here once again for the Indianapolis 500 with Sim Racers Edge for the Alpha Series, brought to you by Ecency.com, as Chad Simpson not too happy about being overtaken. He's going to challenge it going into turn 3 and put himself back into the lead here. You know, Wesley, these drivers, this whole league right here, you know, these guys, it's exciting to watch these guys, Wesley. You know, every single race, it's always just back and forth, back and forth. There's always something to watch here with the Sim Racers Edge.
Back off into the corner, and of course, it's still going to be the man back out in front of Simpson, Rayvon, Davis, Walker. There they are, top 4th row now. Also, that driver of the 23 and the 77 of Simon in the mix. Those drivers now working around the racetrack. You got some more racing going on mid-pack. Couple of team cars trying to gang up with that green car. Meanwhile, battle for the lead. West into the speedway. That goes on out of turn number 4.
Very good work here from Rick Rayvon. And again, Rick Rayvon, having been away out of the number 7 car for quite some time, to be here in the broadcast booth, back here on the racetrack and doing a phenomenal job here thus far. He's battling with Chad Simpson just lap after lap, turn after turn, and there is no sign of letting up between these drivers right now, and it's just absolutely enthralling to watch.
I think he's trying to make a statement that, you know, hey, man, I don't want to be in the broadcast booth. Put me back here on the racetrack, and I'll show you what I can do. As Rayvon right now definitely got it going on, being the pro out there on the racetrack. Flip-flopping spots now with Chad Simpson as well as Butch Davis. By the way, we're closing in on lap number 20, 50 miles in the greatest virtual spectacle of iRacing for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series. And down the front straightaway they come, back to turn 1, and it is still Mr. Davis now. We got to watch him trying to start to climb back in the top 3 out of 4, or out of turn number 1, actually.
Yeah, Butch Davis, you know, he's kind of like he's a silent weapon here in the SRE series. You know, he is just phenomenal at moving his way through the field just methodically and very patiently. You know, you won't really see Butch Davis taking any super risky maneuvers unless he has to. Butch Davis is just, he's very precise, again, very methodical. He definitely knows what he's doing behind that number 43 car. Right now we're looking at Chris Simard in the 77 car, just kind of trailing back here towards the midfield. But again, look at this. These two drivers not giving up at all. They're just swapping back and forth. Lap 20 of 200. Now we touched, Wesley, you touched on this here just a little bit ago. We're going to see pit stops here happening around that lap 30, what was it, 33, 35 mark?
Yeah, I'm thinking somewhere between lap 33 to 40 is when these pit stops are going to take place. So roughly they say they can go 100 miles on a tank of fuel. So 100 miles is basically 40 laps. You don't want to push it to that. You might push it to lap 35, 37. But by lap 40, unless we get a caution there, Mason, everybody will come to the pits and take on green flag pit stops. Tires, fuel, Firestone, Firehawks will go on, and the race rolls on. Green flag pit stops, I always say, makes it very, very interesting when they work around the triangle here in Indianapolis as well.
Yeah, you know, and the other interesting thing, too, about the SRE Alpha Series is, you know, the team aspect as well. I mean, I know that in the real-life series, it's kind of the similar situation, but, well, same situation, actually, but you know, we'll see a lot of working together amongst the teams, you know, specifically Chad Simpson, Butch Davis, you know, if one of, oh, who is this? Someone is getting real messy down the back straightaway, or the front straightaway, excuse me. Jose Vigura going to be involved in this one. Jose Phillips in that number 48 car, limping his way down pit lane, as it looks like that front right tire isn't exactly one with that 48 car, as he slides it into his pit stall. Has to back it back up here. Rough.
Yeah, that's not good, man. He's got the toe end and the suspension up. Oh, we got a caution as well. Yellow flag flies. Could you say this man saved by the bell, as he can be able to take on a repair here, try to get that damage fixed, and get a caution flag as the yellow flag comes out? Here is your Team Goon squad. Instant replay into the wall. Holy cow. This is what started it. This is what brought that car onto the pit lane. And now we got another car that's done the exact same thing.
What was that, Jake Walsh? Oh, man, I think we missed that one. We were so focused on what was happening here with Jose Phillips that we missed that.
It literally happened in unison. Jose Phillips had problems, and then Walsh had the same thing exactly happen to him. I mean, deja vu come for you.
Oh, man. You know, and it's not uncommon, too, Wesley. I know that you have seen it countless times throughout your time in the broadcast booth, but it's always interesting to me seeing, you know, drivers' reactions to things, whether it's in front of them or even behind them. You know, I've seen where drivers have had incidents happen behind them, and all of a sudden they're going sideways, too. It's phenomenal to me just how things can unfold on a racetrack just in the snap of a finger. It always kind of gives me a little bit of a chuckle every now and then.
Yeah, not anybody's fault or doing is, you know, we got guys that are going to be coming to the pits, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you should pit now, 23 of 200, but it looks like they're committing, because honestly, you're going to pit within the next 10 laps or so. They're coming in. The leaders are coming in. And you know what? I can't say I really blame them. You're closing in on 75 miles. It might be good to do that.
Yeah, you know, and we see this pretty often with this league, with these drivers. You know, they'll kind of take that undercut pretty well often. If the caution is out, if the opportunity is there, a lot of drivers will usually take that opportunity to come down pits nice and early. And again, they'll just make that adjustment to their strategy for the race, and they'll just figure it out as they go along. And frankly, a lot of drivers here, I think, well, they definitely know what they're doing as compared to myself, where if I come down pits, I'm just hoping that I made sure I have the correct tire set to make sure they don't change the wrong ones. Anyway, the point being here, these drivers all have very good strategies for these races, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone here, any one of these drivers here, kind of has a little trick up their sleeve for this race here tonight. You know, there could be someone that has a stint that they push those tires as long as they possibly can. Now, I believe, if I recall correctly, Wesley, we had a driver here in SRE Series. I don't remember which track it was specifically, but we had a driver that went over their expected pit window by about, I believe it was 100%. He doubled his stint, basically, and I wouldn't be surprised if a driver here would try and pull the same thing again. Now, IMS, probably not the best place to try it, but I mean, the bold will be bold.
Yeah, and I would be hard-pressed to say that, you know, I think going back and looking at this might have been smart strategy. Maybe for these other cars that did not pit, you might should have. You know, you look at Ray Vaughn, he didn't pit. He felt like maybe, okay, maybe he thinks the cycle is going to be that there's going to be more caution flags. But you think of these other guys that are in the front that did pit, and if that's the case, they're going to have to pit here within the next under 10 laps. And then, of course, that's going to hurt you on strategy. So it's kind of a catch-22 of what just happened. You got some of these guys that said, all right, we're closing in on 75 miles in this race. I need to go ahead and pit now. You got these other guys, and I'm just kind of throwing out there Bentley Glazier or Ray Vaughn because they were the kind of the top guys, Simpson as well, that they maybe feel there's going to be another yellow flag as soon as this race gets started back again. So we'll see what happens when we get ready to go.
Yeah, just a matter of time before we see that green flag fly here once again. Now, I actually do want to mention Rick did come down into the pits that time. He did come down with the rest of the field there. Lap 23 was when he came in. So looks like everyone here has come down into the pits at least once. The only two drivers that I can see.
Okay, so yes, my apologies. So Simpson didn't pit, right?
It was actually Yari Brupatcher, the leader right now, the 89 car.
So actually everyone else did pit then. So again, Brupatcher, maybe he thinks that he needs some laps, obviously. And here's something to think about, John. I'm sorry, something to think about, Mason, with Brupatcher now out in front. You got to remember, this is a points race. I want to emphasize on that. This is the penultimate race of the regular season. For a championship next weekend in Texas, I think, is where the finale is. But you've also got to remember, this is a big race. This is the longest race of the year for this series, but it's also a points race. So if you can stay up in front and accumulate as many points as you can, like what Brupatcher's doing, getting down to the inside quickly on everyone. They'll snake him and slither him back around and reel him in as they go to turn one on the restart. Take advantage of that. Get your points to go towards the championship.
Yeah, and right now, the points right now for the championship are looking pretty well close together. Just taking a moment to run through the top three. Nate Siefker, currently the championship leader with 374 points. Butch Davis in second with 368 points. And third place, Chad Simpson with 361 points. Now again, Chad Simpson, Butch Davis, both teammates with FBR Motorsports. Nate Siefker with Voodoo Racing. So we got quite the stiff competition here for the championship. Now, Nate Siefker is not actually in the race here today, as he's actually attending the real Indianapolis 500. So I respect that. I mean, who wouldn't want to be there for the real one?
Hey, I had Mark James on my Fox Sports Radio show Finish Line yesterday, and Alan Bestwick as well, and we hyped up the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Of course, yesterday was the celebration of fans for drivers, Community Day, going around and to the children's hospitals and the schools and family media functions to acknowledge sponsors and drivers for the event. And tomorrow, it is Carb Day, which, by the way, Indy cars don't run carburetors. They haven't ran them in God knows how long. But the word Carb Day was just so cool, they just kept it.
They had to keep it going. It's too cool to pass up. I mean, that's what else are you going to call it?
Well, carb day is tomorrow, and that's that final 90-minute practice session, if you will, before the Indianapolis 500-mile race. It's kind of like happy hour with another 30 minutes added to it to have that opportunity to shake your car down to get ready for the greatest spectacle in racing on Sunday at 11 a.m. or 12 noon, actually, when they drop the green flag. And then in addition to that, also, John, Mason, you also get ready for the practice session, and they're bringing back the pit stop competition. And I always love that because that's a chance for the pit crews to shine, get spotlighted. And yes, the pit stop competition, Mason, is coming back on tomorrow as well. Yeah.
I really love and appreciate that a lot more of the teams, the actual teams involved in motorsports, are getting recognized and appreciated more than I think they used to traditionally in the past. A lot of work goes down in that pit box. There's a lot of people, a lot of minds that come together to put these race cars together to help the driver get to where they need to be mentally, physically, everything that you could possibly imagine. I mean, it's a whole team of people all really behind this car. Any car, you could pick any car out on track. They're all there to make sure that car does as well as it possibly can. And it's really, really great to see that a lot of the teams, a lot of the pit crews are starting to get recognized more and appreciated for the work that they do, because frankly, without them, I don't know how much of this racing that we would be seeing here today, Wesley.
We have closed in on lap number 30, and if you're a math guy like me that keeps up with statistics, this is now 80 miles of 500. So in the next 10 laps, knock on another 20 miles. We're 100 miles into this race here for the Indianapolis 500. Again, getting ready to put lap number 40 on the board in another 10 laps or under 10 laps, and that will be 100 miles. There is Jerry Brubacher there up on the outside, the D-attach entry, number 89, leading the way. And John, we talk about this. I'm sorry. I'm so used to working with John, and Mason's producing. Mason, we talk about this, my friend. Mason, you are watching Brubacher leading the way, and he is on older tires as they go back into turn number 1, and they're trying to go after him for the lead.
Yeah, and that is exactly what you'll start to see there. Folks watching at home that are maybe tuning in to the virtual Indianapolis 500 here with SRE for the very first time. When you're on those older set of tires, even if it's only by 10, 15, 20 laps, you will start to see the difference in lap times eventually. I mean, it might not be immediate, but as time goes on, as your tires start to wear out, and once you get to that point where your tire degradation is pretty much maxed out, you are going to be dropping down the field like a hammer. It's astonishing just how quickly you can see drivers be put down positions just by being on an older set of tires. Now, Yari here, he's not exactly in the worst places to be at this moment. Now, he came down into the pits on lap 9 during that, I believe it was the second caution that we had here for the start of the Indianapolis 500. So Yari's kind of in a situation where, sure, he's going to start dropping down in pace a little bit. However, he's in a better position than the rest of the field at this moment as far as pit stop strategy.
Yeah, we'll watch them as they work their way back across the start-finish line here at the Yard of Bricks, as the current man is Rick Rayvon, up 5 spots back to the lead. Jerry Brubacher there again. Brubacher up 17 spots, the 89 to second, Chad Simpson third, Butch Davis is fourth, and Chris Walker the top 5. Bentley Glazer, Chris Simmerd, followed by Dan Brazington, Jeffrey Roulette, Jeff Hollingsworth, your top 10 here as they work their way back into turn number 2.
Yeah, and now I think, Wesley, we're starting to see some of this field, at least in some parts. We got a little bit of action brewing up here between Chris Walker and Butch Davis as they duke it out for P4 right now. But what I was alluding to here is that our field is starting to get pretty well spread out here at this point. As you look at the bottom right-hand side of your screens, you can take a look at the track map at this point in time. Now, this isn't exactly the best representation of how far this field is spread out, but it kind of gives you an idea of, out of the 27, well, actually, it looks like 20, Nope, still 27. Looks like we've only had one driver fall out of the race here, so it looks like 26 drivers. Out of the 26 drivers here, we are pretty well spread out across this track. I'd say about almost halfway. About half of this track that we have consumed here with the 26 drivers that we have right now. And as we progress on, I mean, you're going to start to see kind of an accordion effect amongst these drivers, if you will. You know, a lot of these drivers here are very, very good at kind of getting off of those tires a little bit, conserving them, and then once they kind of get towards the end of their pit window, they kind of get on them a little bit more, only a little bit, marginally, just so they can keep the pace that they've been putting down on when those tires were obviously a little bit fresher. But yeah, it's not unheard of to see these drivers kind of get a little conservative kind of midway through their stint and then get back on it once they feel it's time to come back in, whenever that time happens to be.
And again, as you said, there is still a lot of racing here left to go. Let's remember that. As I mentioned when we came on the air here, you got to pace yourself. You have got to pace yourself for this race, because if you don't, you can wear yourself out, you can wear your body out, you can get tired. This is a grueling race. We're on board with Bentley Glazier, one of our friends of the Midwest. I follow him on the Sim 500 811 Call Before You Dig Cup Series, and he's got a win in that series. He won the Bristol Dirt Race back earlier in the year. So this is my first time seeing Bentley Glazier in right now the number 4 position, or actually in 5th right now in the number 4 car. He's in a very, very comfortable spot. You know, used to seeing him, Mason, in a cup car or in a virtual cup car. Now he's in this Dallara, and right now looking really good. He's really impressing me, kind of staying out of trouble, staying in the line of the pack. He's in the top 5, just kind of, you know, waiting patiently, if you will, as we're about to approach 100 miles.
Absolutely, yeah. Bentley Glazier here has been quite the competitor in the series. Bentley Glazier, actually, let me see where he's sitting in the point standings. He's actually 4th in the championship standings at this point in time. He hasn't won a race here with for this season of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series, brought to you by Ecency.com, but he has put himself on pole at least once. He's been in the top 5 6 times. He's been in the top 10 9 times throughout the season. So that just also goes to show, Wesley, you know, you don't have to win every single race or even any race in a season to come away with the win in the championship. I mean, it's all about consistency. It's all about being able to put yourself up there in that top 5, in that top 10, and do that every single race. You know, a lot of people that come into sim racing, I think, get the misconception sometimes that you have to win every single race, and that's just not true. And Bentley Glazier is a perfect example of that.
What did I say when we came on the air, Mason? To win the race, you must first finish. Well, guess what? Now you've got 100 miles out of the way. We're on lap number 40. If you're doing the math, it's 100 miles completed, okay? So now that you've got that, you're right there. You got to be comfortable in the position you're in. You think to yourself, maybe if you've got a spotter, if you got a radio person that's with you or a crew member, where am I at right now? Where are we at strategically? How is our car acting? How are we conserving fuel? How is our tire consumption? You look at this the first 100 miles, and then you debate where you go heading into halfway.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we are at the lap 41 mark out of 200 here for the 3rd running of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series Indianapolis 500, brought to you by Ecency.com. We are going to step away from the booth here for just a short moment, and when we come back, we will bring you more coverage here of the most exciting spectacle here in racing. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and when we come back, we will have more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad.
Ecency, okay. Ecency, it's great. I'm having a blast driving around. Yeah, that was a fast lap.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah?
What are you doing, man?
I'm just writing a quick post to the Need for Speed community on Ecency.
A what for who community?
The Need for Speed community. It's the community on Hive that's all about racing.
How do I get into this?
Just go to Ecency.com, sign up for an account, and download the app.
Dude, that's really cool. But now you gotta go.
Yeah, I'm on there every day.
No. I mean, go, man. Go.
Okay, let's go. I recently joined Ecency and discovered the Need for Speed community. It's the perfect place for me to share my simulation driving experience with people all around the world. Thanks in no small part to all the support from Ecency, Sim Racers Edge is able to stream our races live each week for all our fans. I invite you to join Ecency today to follow Sim Racers Edge all season long.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Indianapolis 500, the third running of it, here with Sim Racers Edge for the IR-18 Alpha Series, powered by Ecency.com. We're on lap 45 of 200 here, and right now, Chad Simpson in the lead, currently with Rick Ravon sitting in second place, Butch Davis in third. Rick Ravon, Chad Simpson, both of these drivers have been consecutively switching back and forth between this first place spot. They have not let up the fight here as we continue on, and right now, as we're on lap 45 here, as when we cross that line, I think we're going to be just about, about to that 10 laps to go before we see these drivers come down into the pits, hopefully under green flag conditions.
Yeah, you got to remember they pitted earlier than scheduled. I think it was, we were thinking around 35 to 40 laps, and they actually came down to the pit lane around lap 27 to 33. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to watch that. And, of course, another 15 laps or so will also be closing in on about 150 miles, or actually, correction, close to 200 miles of this race. We're lap 100. We're halfway through. And for the most part, as we look at the, kind of recap on race analysis, Mason, 4 caution flags. No big wrecks yet, if you will. Had a couple of cars, just kind of spin out around the racetrack. And, of course, since then it's been, or 3 caution flags. I'm sorry, we only had 3 yellow flags. So, 3 cautions. It's been comfortable. It's been decent for the opening 50 laps. Kind of the norm of the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. With these long races like this, it's almost, you kind of almost have to expect at some point that these drivers are going to get into a groove. They're going to get into a spot where they feel comfortable, and then they're just going to ride that out until practically the final quarter of the race, practically. Yep. I mean,
remember, that's what I told you they got to do, Mason.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very, very important that drivers don't overdo it. I mean, you talked about this during the beginning of the broadcast, Wesley. You touched on it, and it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial that you, like you said, you keep yourself green, you keep yourself in the race all the way until that lap 200 mark. Now, right now, it looks like our field is doing quite the job of doing that, as, we're on lap 48 right now, and this field is looking rather steady at this point in the race. And right now, it looks like Chris Walker is starting to give a little bit of pressure once again to Butch Davis in that number 43 car as he goes around on the outside into turn 1. Doesn't quite have the speed. Going into turn 2, he's going to fall right back behind the 43 car and try and get himself stacked back up here. As right now, as I think we're getting closer, I have a feeling at least that we're going to be getting closer to that pit window mark. for our leaders here. It's going to start getting heated up here as far as battles are concerned amongst our drivers.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Again, as we just mentioned, we're working now lap number 50 here of this race.
Here we go. Pit stops. Rick Ravon.
125 miles, and it's actually, it's kind of ironic. That's a little early for pit stops, to be honest with you, Mason. I think there's some strategy going on here.
There has to be. I mean, for someone like Rick Ravon, who was sitting in second place competing with first place driver Chad Simpson, who's opted to stay out here in the lead. I mean, that's a very fair thing to do. I mean, who wouldn't want to stay out here when you still have good tires? At least I would assume so. But yeah, like you said, Wesley, there's definitely got to be some sort of strategy being played out here. But what I'm curious about here, Wes, is Chad Simpson and Butch Davis, again, these two are teammates. Now, they both have opted to stay out here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but traditionally, usually you'd want to have one teammate stay out, one come in, and then kind of flip-flop from there to be able to kind of keep the team out in front of the race. I mean, what do you think could be happening here?
I mean, it could be a thing where your teammates are saying, okay, I need to pit now. You need to pit with me. Maybe that changes up the strategy of the race. Maybe you're trying to get back on track here. Here's the thing. We're 50 laps in. This is 125 miles. So do the math. You're a quarter of the way, 3/4 remaining. You're 100 laps at the distance of halfway. That's 50 laps to go. You've got about another 75 miles for that. And again, maybe you're trying to get back in sequence of the race. Maybe there's a strategy here in why cars are pitting so early. I was thinking between 60, 65, because if you look at the fuel window, it was somewhere in that number. You were even thinking the same thing as well. This is very, very prematurely, but it is what it is. There's got to be a strategy here that these drivers are doing.
Yeah, and it's very common amongst this field that these drivers, they use, I mean, it's pretty typical, I think. Kind of thinking back to some of the past coverage, past races that we've covered here with SRE, teams have come down into pits 10, 15 laps earlier than what we normally expect. I mean, not always, but I think in the case of these longer format races is where we start to see that, where drivers kind of take things a little bit earlier and are kind of saving things for the end, I suppose. I mean, I'm not exactly 100% certain on what these guys have in mind or what they're going to be doing here, as Chris Walker making the pass around Bentley Glazier. So I don't know. We've got quite the mix-up of tires out on track at the moment. Jari Brupatcher currently looks like with the oldest. Actually, that's incorrect. Only 1 lap older than Raul Alvarez at the moment. But Jari Brupatcher came in a lap 37. Was the last time he was down into the pits. So Rick Ravon just behind him. He came in just a few laps ago. I'm going to expect to see that number 7 car to catch up here to the number 89 before too long. And for Jari, he's kind of been the outlier here, Wesley. He's been the one that's kind of opted to really take this really, really kind of strange undercut strategy. I'm not really sure how to describe it.
Let's give you your full-filled rundown as it stands right now. Jari Brupatcher, of course, is the Brupatcher, the leader. He is leading the way. Rick Ravon in second. By the way, if I butcher your names, I'm trying my best not to. This is my first time working with the series. Brupatcher, the leader. Rick Ravon second. Chad Simpson is third. Butch Davis is in 4th position. The boss man behind, of course, the Sim Racers Edge program is, of course, Mr. Chris Walker. Bentley Glazier in 6th. Chris Simmert is in 7th. Jeffrey Rolette is 8th. Dan Brazington 9th. Jeffrey Brogans. We give you the full rundown. Mason, currently your top 10.
The top 10 is looking mighty fine, and let's go through the rest of our field here as Mike Grandy Sr. taking that 11th place spot, Timmy Bates in 12th, Lyle Swearingen in 13th, Paul Krumrye in 14th, Kevin Young in 15th, Dale Weiser in 16th. Dale Weiser like Budweiser. I love that name. I don't know why. Anyway, Carl Burke in 17th, Mark McFadden in 18th, Jeff Hollingsworth in 19th, Ernie Ludwig in 20th, Raul Alvarez in 21st, Kevin O'Brien in 22nd, and Jose Phillips in 23rd, Ryan Cruz in 24th, Jake Walsh in 25th, Shane Loveridge 26th, and Brett Beasley, who has unfortunately called it a night here for this race, as well as it looks like Shane Loveridge has as well. Both calling it a night here for those two drivers. But 25 drivers that we still have out on track, and 25 drivers that are all still battling for positions here. Lap 56 of 200 here for the third running of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series Indianapolis 500. Folks, it has been some intense racing here throughout really this first quarter of the race, and it's only getting heated up here as we continue on and looking at some of the action that we have unfolding at the moment. Mike Grandy Sr. down on the inside of Dan Brazington. I believe that was coming out of turn 4. Indeed it is, as we make our way now down the front straight and across the checkered line.
Yeah, across the yard of bricks here at the Pagoda, here at the start-finish line. Brew Batcher still the man leading the way. Rayvon second, Simpson third, Davis, Walker in that top 5. No change in any of those spots as you watch these guys work through the short chute off the north end, down the back straightaway off turn number 2. And everyone just kind of all settling themselves in. Some more making green flag pit stops. But I think we're ready to get to the halfway.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're looking here, Kevin O'Brien right now sitting a lap down. He's actually coming down here into the pits, surprisingly. Not sure if he was involved in an incident or if he's just coming down into pits because he has to. Looks like, no, he doesn't necessarily have to, but coming down either way. Kevin O'Brien there, he was very respectful getting out of the way of the rest of the field there. I love that about this league too, Wesley. You know, every single driver here is all very respectful of the race and of the competition. It's just great to see that. And I mean,
for sure.
You know, it's always very easy for some drivers to, you know, just bend the car in front of you and say, hey, it's racing, but you don't really see that too often here with Sim Racers Edge. So I love to see the raw competition as we continue on here and kind of just getting a look around the field here. You know, we're pretty well spread out amongst our field, and looking right now, not a whole lot of battles happening down on track at this moment. It looks like right now Timmy Bates, Paul Crumry having a side-by-side, almost wheel-to-wheel battle here as they work their way out of turn 2, screaming their way into turn 2 now.
Yes, sir. So, hey, we want to send a shout-out to our audience on Team Goon Squad that are tuning into the broadcast. I love to interact with the fans. You know that, Mason. So what I'd love to do right now, if you're watching or if you're listening, we'd love for you to give us a shout-out, your name, where you're from, where you're tuning in. Maybe if you don't want to give your real name, you can just say where you're located at. We'd love to logistically see where you're tuning in across the country, maybe across the world in the U.S. of A. So as we're approaching now lap number 60 of the race, closing in on 40 laps, if you will, to halfway of the Indianapolis 500 third annual event for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Dallara Series. Send us a message. Tell us what you think of the broadcast. Mason and I working together for the first time. Normally, I'm in the broadcast booth for some other iRacing events, and he's normally the guy pushing the buttons. And this guy's multitasking. He's pushing the buttons, and he's calling the race with me. So, yeah, let us know where you're tuning in, and it's a pleasure having you here. And Mason, it's a pleasure you inviting me, is what I meant to say, having me here tonight work with you, my friend.
I love to have you here, Wesley. It's fantastic to have someone like yourself with as much experience as you have in the racing community, both real life and sim racing alike. It's always great having the knowledge that you have here up here in the booth, and to be able to talk about a race quite as fantastic as the one that we have here. I mean, the Indianapolis 500, both real and virtual, has a lot of history. As speaking of history,
Caution's out. Here you go. Yellow flag.
Dale.
Yep.
Dale Weiser, excuse me there. I didn't mean to step on you there, Wesley. We're gonna...
It's the Budweiser car.
The Budweiser 24 car involved in a little bit of an incident here. Let's see exactly what unfolded. Oh, man,
No,
oh, man.
He's not actually Budweiser sponsored, but it's Weiser's machine. And look at him just hit the wall. And we've seen other races this year where you get up in the safer wall barrier and you make contact with the wall. You get up in the marbles and the loose stuff, and man, that's the problem. So there you go. Hey, hello to Mikey Bourne. He's in race control from Ocala, Florida. Michael, I have been in Ocala, Florida before. I've done many races at, of course, the Bull Ring and at Bubba Raceway Park in Ocala, Florida during Speed Week. So, yeah, I love that place. Sally Hammond, Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Go Mark McFadden. It's pronounced McFadden. I think I said McFadden, Fadden. So anyhow, Sally Hammond, thank you so much there. And we're under yellow flag for the 4th time. Mason, you've got to replay our Toon Goon Squad replay of what happened.
Yes, we do. Well, we just took a look at it there just a moment ago. Dale Weiser in that number 24 car. He came out of turn 1 there, got himself into the wall. Yeah, here we go.
Look at this. Are you serious? They literally just pitted less than 15 laps ago, and they're pitting again.
I love these guys. I really do. You know, a lot of this, Wesley, is mind games. A lot of these drivers, they love the mind games. I mean, it's some of these guys, they might not even stop in their stall. They might just drive through the pits. I mean, that's not exactly the best idea in the world, as here we go. Looks like all of the drivers that are making their way down into the pits, they are going to stop in their stalls here. Going up on the jacks for the most part. Everyone getting a fresh set of tires. Okay, so I'm a little confused here as well, Wesley. I don't exactly know what's going on here for these drivers.
It's a bold I never thought I'd say this in an iRacing broadcast, but I'm a fan of the movie Dodgeball. It's a bold strategy, Mason. Let's see if it pays off.
You know, and I watched that movie with my girlfriend not too long ago, and she'd never seen it before, which kind of shocked me, but yeah.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
I love that movie. It was a classic, and folks, it kind of well, this is a little bit off topic here, but it was kind of funny because as a kid growing up, people used to tell me I kind of looked like Vince Vaughn, and I told her that, and the look on her face when I told her that, it was hilarious. But anyhow, off of the topic of movies and back on the topic here of the Indianapolis 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge. Wesley, this has been an incredible race here thus far, and you know, we kind of touched on it during the beginning of the broadcast. You know, when we first started seeing these cautions come out, we weren't really sure how we were going to see this field stack up, and sure enough, here we are, 4th caution, lap 63, and the field that we saw running up here in really the top 5 has completely shuffled around. I mean, we got Timmy Bates up here leading the field right now. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, you're exactly right. No, I'm confused as you are. Like, I'm mind-boggled. You just had drivers that literally gave up track position. Here comes more that are coming into pit. I believe these are the cars that are a lap down or more that are now coming in to take on pit stops, because the lead lap cars get to pit first and take the advantage or choose to. But I'm kind of like, you guys just pitted 15 laps ago. What are you doing? And now they've just pitted again. So the entire strategy pendulum is out the window, unless they're trying to go from here at lap 65 to maybe halfway, and then they're going to pit after lap 100. That's the only thing I can think of on pit sequence here, Mason.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, it's kind of strange, obviously, as like you touched on, they just pitted not too long ago. So to come back in only 15 laps after you just came back in and get on another fresh set of tires, which I'm actually going to go back and take a look here to see how many tires drivers are allocated for the race here tonight, because if I'm not mistaken, they are only limited to a certain amount. And oh geez, I'm trying to find it here, and I don't think I actually have the correct information here at the moment. But either way, Wesley, while I try and find that, it's very, very odd to me that these drivers are taking that extra set of tires here on lap 64 of 200, not even halfway through the race yet.
Yeah, that's what gets me. Hey, more people. Babs, mom of the number 42, Chad Simpson from Frisco, Texas. Hello, thank you, Babs. Michael Bourne says Bubba Speedway, Bubba Raceway Park is 5 minutes from me, and listen to Bubba the Love Sponge every day. Yeah, Michael, he's a good friend of mine for sure, and I've actually been on his radio show before. Charles McCormick, 21 Bakes, let's go. There you go. Take your picks. We're ready. We're set. It's closing in on lap number 65 here on the greatest virtual spectacle of iRacing. The field works past the yard of bricks. They start snaking their way back to speed into turn number 1. The leader is Banks. It's Young, Brewpatcher, Rayvon Simpson, top 5 into turn number 2.
Look at Rick Rayvon. Rayvon here, he has consistently worked his way, down a few positions up back into the top 3 time after time again. And Wesley, what I'm starting to notice here, these drivers snaking down the back straightaway. We didn't really see that at the beginning of the race, but it looks like we're starting to see drivers that are in the lead try and break that draft from the drivers behind them. Try and get that air to break away from behind their car. I mean, it's phenomenal what these drivers are doing here. Almost halfway through this race, it's incredible just seeing what all they have to do to be able to keep themselves competitive here.
Mason, you think of the word, and I'll say it several times, and I'll say it's called snaking. And the snaking is that slithering, aggressive way that you're working around the racetrack. You'll see them snake around the straightaways mainly, more on the straightaways than in the corners. But it's basically where it's kind of like drafting, but you're basically slithering, and you're following the momentum of the clean air, getting away from the dirty air, and you're watching the lead car, everyone else behind them, kind of follow that rotation to try to reel each other in. You're on board now with Jeffrey Roulette, the man of the 66 out of the number 8 position right now. Watch that blinking light. That blinking light lets you know that you're in the top gear. He's went from 6th all the way to 4th. Now he's back up to 5th. He's now going to climb to 6th gear by the time we get to the back straightaway. And again, you see that snaking? See him starting to slither his way inside, outside, because they're trying to break away from the dirty air, get that clean air to try to make that move to slingshot, engage, and pass your competition.
Yeah, and that is really, it's tough. It's a lot tougher than I think some people realize, Wesley. I think a lot of these drivers make it look so easy. And right now, these drivers are seeing speeds. Top speed right now, I'm seeing 239 miles an hour around IMS. Folks, 239 miles an hour. That is insanely fast. Right now, coming down the back straightaway, heading into turn 3, Timmy Bates currently seeing a top speed of 214 miles an hour as he works his way into turn 3. Wesley, it is so incredibly challenging to keep these cars stable and competitive when you're going that fast. I mean, this slightest error, the slightest mistake, and it can cost you an entire race.
And making that move, and look at Rayvon there making that move on the inside on Bates back to 1. I'm looking at the colors of the car. Are these teammates? Mason?
Timmy Bates and I believe, I have to find the other car now. Bentley Glazer are teammates, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, Rayvon, who's not his teammate, just passed him and went back to the lead.
And Rayvon here, like I was saying, he has consistently got himself back up here into the lead time and time again. And frankly, I would almost be pressed to say Rick Rayvon could possibly, and I say possibly, come away with a podium here tonight with the way things are looking for that number 7 car right now. But I don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to commentators curse anybody here tonight. So let's just see how this race goes as we're on lap 70 of 200 and just trying to take a look here at some of the action unfolding around the track here right now. We're looking at Jeff Hollingsworth and Mike Grandy Sr. duking it out at the moment for 12th place at this moment. Jeff Hollingsworth falling right behind the number 12 car as we continue on here, as we continue to find more action unfolding here on the track. This is what a race.
Certainly is. You watch the top 5 snaking their way back around into turn number 1 and 2 with the leader now. Of course, the driver, Rayvon, out in front, as we mentioned, the number 2 spot. Rick Rayvon, Timmy Bates up 11 spots, up 13 spots, Kevin Young, and of course, Yari Brewpatcher there. Of course, that driver, Mr. Yari Brewpatcher, has moved his way back into the top 5. Chad Simpson as well. All these guys going at it as they work their way down the back straightaway from the back stretch to the 3rd turn. They're off of turn number 4. That's how fast they're getting around this racetrack. The average seconds around this racetrack, honestly, Mason, if you don't have a caution and you're at max speed, close to 40 seconds a lap you're turning.
And that is just absolutely insane. I mean, think about it, folks. You are traveling around a racetrack that is 2.5 miles in length in 40 seconds. Folks, that is just absolutely wild. I mean, I can't, let alone going 100 miles an hour in any car, going to over 200 miles an hour in a race car like the Dallara IR-18 Indy car. Wesley, that is just absolutely incredible that these drivers are able to do what they do at these high speeds.
I used the word, and Alan Bestwick used it on my Finish Line show yesterday, interviewing him, talking about the Indy 500, and it's from the great father, Ken Squire. Ordinary men doing incredible things. Well, guess what? The same can be said about these virtual racers here, okay? It takes strategy, it takes confidence, it takes the fortitude, if you will, to be able to do this race. Yeah, I look at the stats preparing for this virtual third running of the Sim Racers Edge Indy 500 race, and for the Alpha Series Indy cars. And here's the thing, Mason, and you cover them normally. They normally run like 100, 200 laps or 100, 150 laps, less than 30, 40, 50% of a race distance event. This is a true 100%, 500-mile, 200 lap slugfest grudge match, and you have got to set yourself in the right place at the right time as we are approaching now 175 miles of this race. We're closing in on halfway in another 25 laps. There's still a lot of racing left to go.
A lot of racing indeed, and right now, Rick Ravon, Timmy Bates, Kevin Young, Chad Simpson, Yari Brupatcher rounding out our top 5 at this moment right now in this race. And frankly, what I'm really curious about right now, Wesley, we just saw that pit stop happen just about, I believe it was about 10 laps ago, just over 10 laps ago. And what I'm kind of curious about now is how is this going to affect these driver strategies going forward? I mean, it's been pretty consistent. Drivers have come in earlier than what we have predicted. I mean, we've predicted anywhere between 33 to 40 laps that they would come down into the pits, and here we go. It looks like Timmy Bates coming down here into pit road all on his lonesome at the moment. Not exactly certain what for, if he may have been involved in a little bit of an incident or if he just wants to get something checked out. Not exactly certain either way, either how. Butch Davis, Chris Samard currently duking it out for that fifth place spot. And as we're taking away lap 76 of 200, I mean, I'm still just very confused at the strategies being played out here tonight.
Look at the cloud cover, Mason. This is the first time tonight we've seen massive cloud cover over the speedway. This is going to also change the tire temperature of the track temp, and it's going to make these cars cool off dramatically as well.
Yeah, that is going to be very crucial as well to how this race kind of plays out, and depending on how long this cloud cover lasts, I mean, it all depends. I mean, it could be intermittent, you know, we could have kind of spotty clouds, or it could just be pure coverage, and if that track cools down enough, I mean, it could get real slick out there real fast, and I think for these drivers, that's not exactly what they would want to see here, given that we're almost to that halfway point. I mean, that's racing, though, for you. You know, you have to not only deal with the track, but you have to deal with Mother Nature as well and whatever it decides to throw at you. Now, the iRacing service, unfortunately, as it stands currently, and I say currently because it is still in the works, we don't get to experience the effects of, say, rain, but when you start to add in things like that to a race, that's when things start to get very interesting. And for a race like this, I'm not exactly certain what they would do in the real life Indy 500 if there was rain, and depending on the severity of the rain. I know for Formula One, if it's anything more than, well, a drizzle, they'll usually postpone the race. But here in the Indianapolis 500, well, I can imagine things are a little bit different, but not by much.
Yeah, with the speeds of these cars, same thing can be said with Formula One. By the way, you know, we hype up all the big races, the Indy 500, the Coke 600 for NASCAR this weekend, but also the Monaco Grand Prix, the Grand Prix of Monaco, early in the morning on Sunday morning. That's a big show for Formula One. That said, that 3 triple Memorial Day races. But anyhow, we were talking about the the tires and weather conditions, here's something else to think about. Just a few moments ago, you see them slithering to the back straightaway now. When they were on the front stretch into turns 1 and 2, you had massive cloud cover. This is how big the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is, because now as you see them work their way to the north end of the speedway, or actually the west end of the 3 and 4, back down the front straightaway, here comes the cloud cover, past the yard of bricks from the aerial view, and then you see him going back into the clouds. Halfway to the backstretch to turn 3 and 4, it's all sunshine. So there's a lot of things that could be changing here. One end of the spectrum could be this type of scenario. The other side could be another complete thing. And that's just to describe to you how big this racetrack is, a gargantuan of a facility. And 2.5 miles, and you can literally see different weather conditions on different sides of the spectrum. In regards to tires, Mason, to answer your question, Formula One, IndyCar, if it's raining, they can't race. These cars are so fast, they cannot be able to run in here. Now, I know that there's been talks, as by the way, we approach 80 laps now. We're 200 miles into this race, 300 miles to go, 50 miles to halfway here in the third running of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series 500 at Indianapolis. But these tires, real and virtual, you can't run them because obviously in rain, unless you have rain tires, you possibly could. Now, we do see them in IndyCar and Formula One run rain tire radials, run the rain tires on, road course events, but not in circle races, not a race of this magnitude. If it was light rain, maybe they'd keep going, they'd be okay. But of course, if it's a torrential downpour, they'll bring them down the pit lane. We've seen that several times before. And in addition to that, also, the only way, I know, Mason, that there's been talks about it on iRacing. I just don't think they've done it yet. But the idea is to actually have real weather conditions. That's something that they've actually talked about wanting to do. Have like real races with rain, with thunder, with lightning, with the sun, with the clouds. They haven't achieved that yet. I don't know how they would pull that off. I mean, what would you do? Like race in the rain, I guess? I don't know.
And it was really interesting when iRacing did kind of, they more or less teased it than they did announce it.
Exactly. Yes.
So basically, for the folks watching at home, as we are still kind of just watching along the action here, drivers are pretty well calm and steady at this moment. Not a lot of bumping and grind. Well, not bumping and grinding. This isn't exactly NASCAR, but not a whole lot of wheel-to-wheel action that we have here. So in this moment, we're just going to kind of take a moment to hang out. We're going to talk about iRacing and the great service that iRacing has built for themselves over the past, over a decade now, I believe. Anyhow, iRacing teased rain, I believe it was the beginning of last year, just around that point, I believe. And their idea, their intention was they wanted to model rain in a way that mimicked real life, as close to real life as possible. Now, they wanted to be able to have rain collect on certain portions of the track, and they had modeled all of the drain systems on every track. And so if you actually go into the iRacing service, if you go on a track and drive around, you will actually see those drain sewers scattered around the track. And what their plan is, they would like to be able to have it, so if it's heavy rain, it'll start to pool up and you'll see that big puddle of rain there. And they also wanted to have it so that way rain would travel through the tread of the tire to model that in some way, somehow. I have no idea how they would pull that off. That just sounds like an engineering feat in of itself.
That's awesome.
It sounds great, doesn't it? I mean, I'm so excited for what iRacing has to come. I mean, this service it only continues to get better and better. And I mean, again, iRacing has everything from oval racing, dirt track racing, road course racing, Formula One, IndyCar, ARCA, you name it, iRacing has it. And if you are someone that enjoys going fast, if you like being in a race car, even if it is sitting in the comfort of your own home and don't have to worry about spending multiple thousands of dollars, or, in the case of Formula One, millions of dollars, you can have the comfort of racing around very well modeled tracks. And frankly, I can't think of any other place I'd want to see races like this other than the iRacing service.
Lap 86 of 200. We're just over 210 miles into the third running of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series, IndyCar's greatest virtual spectacle of iRacing. We're closing in on halfway in about another 13 laps. And I'm not going to lie to you, with the strategy that we just saw during that last restart here, I honestly think, Mason, they're going to be coming to pit road just at halfway, lap 100, or between lap 100 and 105, and they're going to be back on strategy game again here on lap 87.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, and looks like Tony Case mentioned in the chat, what happened to the number 5? That is going to be Mark McFadden, excuse me. Sitting in 24th at the moment. He shows he's currently out of the race. Let's take a quick moment here, take a look at a quick replay, and see what exactly unfolded here for that number 5 car. As
oh no,
little bit of a slide into the pits.
Overshot his pit stall there, it looks like, maybe at start-finish line.
And that seems to be where he parked it. I'm not showing anything else past that point.
Well, you see he passed the yard of bricks there at the start-finish line. He overshot his pit stall, and then he popped back up in his pit box.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if he's having some troubles externally. Maybe he's got some troubles with his setup, because it doesn't look like he was involved in any incident or anything. The car didn't look like it had any damage, so might have been something to do with his rig. He might be having some issues outside of the race itself. As looks like we have some drivers making their way down pit road, excuse me. So pit stops are happening here at this point in the race. As ignore that caution symbol there for a moment, but Chris Samar, Jeff Hollingsworth, Lyle Swearingen, Kevin O'Brien, Ryan Cruz have all made their way down into the pits here. And taking a look at the lead here, Butch Davis, Chad Simpson, Bentley Glazer all stacked up in a three-piece here for the lead. And Wesley, you mentioned just a little bit ago, we're going to start to expect to see a lot of our drivers making their way down pit road there, as we just saw Bentley Glazer, Jeff Bogan, and Jeffrey Rolla, as well as Dan Brazington make their way there just behind the leaders here.
And while that goes on, they work their way to the north end of the speedway, back to the short chute into turn number 2. It's Davis and Simpson now. They're going to battle side by side for position. Now they snake their way with lap traffic now coming back onto the race course down the back straightaway. This bunches up and changes the interval between those drivers. They're now trying to get on the binders, if you will. Slow cars, faster cars. Cars coming up to speed now. And Davis still holds them off as they work out of turn number 4.
You know, and that's what I love about these green flag pit stops here. As we see Butch Davis coming into pit road, nice and hot, but very, very smooth. Butch Davis very clean there with that pit stop. Chad Simpson, his teammate, gonna opt to stay out here in the lead. And Wesley, that's what I mentioned a little bit earlier in the broadcast, that these two, they kind of strategize their pit stops. You know, one of them will stay out, the other one comes in, and then they flip-flop. It's very, very common that these two drivers kind of play that strategy here, and it works for them time and time again. You know, we see that a lot in real-life racing as well. It's a very common strategy that works if you do it well, and Chad Simpson and Butch Davis both have a very good strategy here, as Chad Simpson now is going to work his way down into the pits.
Yeah, Davis came in. Now Simpson comes in. Here comes now Rayvon 1 and 2. Simpson giving up the lead to now come to the pits. It's going to cycle back around to Rayvon. Brewpatcher there as well. Davis, Simard, Glazer, Brogan. All of these cars, you know, we're going to start to see. And I find it ironic here now. I was thinking, honestly, unless my fuel strategy is off the charts, it's not matching what they're thinking. Okay, so I'm honestly thinking here, Mason, we are between 10 to 15 laps off of the normal average of what you would think that they would need to pit. So I'm wondering if these guys are either not using a 100% tank of fuel, or whatever this case is, because I honestly was thinking, Mason, we would see cars come to the pits at halfway or just after lap halfway to lap 105. So they've called my bluff 2 times 10 laps before their average of pitting.
You know what, Wesley? And as I'm taking a look at our race notes here, I just noticed that our our good friend Butch Davis actually did mention that fuel stints is 21 to 23 laps. So,
wow.
Wesley, I think you hit the nail on the head.
It might be 80% fuel capacity because we're thinking 33 to 35 laps whenever they ran the full Indy 500 for the major series 2 weeks ago. We got a caution now. Caution coming out here on lap number 93. Just shy of 225 miles into this race. We're closing in on halfway, and there's problems on the number 12. I believe it's Grandy's car. He's on the pit lane.
And getting our Team Goon Squad instant replay spooled up here. Let's take a look at what happened here to the number 12 car. Mike Grandy Sr. Oh, on the grass into turn 1. That unsettles the car, sends it spinning into the wall out of turn 1. That is going to absolutely cripple that number 12 car and ultimately bring it down into the pits. And unfortunately, I think that is going to be the end of the number 12's race.
Yeah, it's a tough break there. You see the entire wing of the car, the front and the back of the tail tank, completely sheared and shattered and destroyed. I don't think these guys, do they get a fast repair? Is there a fast repair given one time for this series, for this race, as we're in the 5th caution, coming up on halfway?
If I recall correctly, there is one fast repair that they are allocated for the race here. And actually, while we have the caution out, I want to take this moment and bring Mr. Rick Ravon up here into the booth for just a moment and have a word with the leader here and see how he's doing up there leading this field at the moment. Rick, sir, do you have a read real quickly before we go back to green?
Yeah, I got to read. You don't have to make it quick. I can talk.
All right, Rick. Well, welcome up here to the booth. You have had quite a phenomenal run here tonight in that number 7 car. How are you feeling back in behind the wheel of that number 7 and taking a break from the commentator's booth?
Well, it feels great coming into the pits right now. I got to make sure I get under 60. There we go. Now I can concentrate on the interview. It feels great to be back out here. Boy, this guy, you sound really familiar to me.
Who, me? Well, if you listen on the radio or you watch television, you've probably heard me in a lot of motorsports broadcasts, my friend.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I have. But I'm having a great time out here, you know? I mean, I'm just relaxed and calm and just taking whatever comes, you know? A little bit of fuel saving, a little bit of hard running. And if I'm there at the end of the race, hopefully it won't come down to a fuel mileage race because I'm not looking for a fuel mileage deal. I'm here to race.
Yeah, so, Rick, I want to elaborate on that if you don't mind. You guys kind of got me because I was thinking the fuel strategy would be between 33 to 35 laps, which is normally the regular distance for an Indy car for the Indy 500 or the Delara. That's what they did a couple of weeks ago. And then you guys are pitting between 23 to 25 laps. Is the fuel cell not allowed to be at 100%? Is it like 80%, so that makes it more pit stops we're seeing?
Yes, indeed. I think the fuel is at 75%. We have 15-gallon tanks in these cars.
That explains it then, Mason.
Yeah, that's why you're seeing shorter fuel stints here. I'm in the back of the line here. I decided to pit. I didn't want to be at a fuel disadvantage, so now I could turn it up a little bit and race with these guys. I got my work cut out for me. I'm kind of in the back of the line here, but just having a blast. You know, I'm having fun and. Win or lose, it's okay. I certainly want to win this thing, but win or lose is okay. I just want to have a good time, you know, put on a good show for the fans out there and just have some good racing.
So Rick, are you adjusting to being out of the broadcast booth and getting back into the race in the car again?
No, I'm not good. This is a one-off for me. I mean, the Indianapolis 500 is the Indianapolis 500, so I have to race in the Indy 500, you know, especially the SRE Indy 500 because you got a lot of good guys out here, real good competition. So if you win this race, it's a pretty big deal. It's a big accomplishment. So obviously that's the goal, is to win this thing. But if not, you know, I'm out here having a great time, and that's what matters at this stage of my life.
Well, Rick, thank you for letting me have your seat tonight. I appreciate it, my friend, and thank you, Mason, for the invitation.
Well, you can have that seat anytime. Maybe someday we could do 3 in the booth. I think that would be
there
great.
You go.
I like the sound of that. Well, Rick, you're looking fantastic out there, man. You have run up the field here time and time again. We've seen you duking it out with Chad Simpson for the lead. I mean, lap after lap. It's been exciting watching this race here thus far. And I look forward to seeing you continue on with this race, Rick. I definitely think I could see you up there on the podium here tonight.
Well, I hope so. Podium would be nice. A victory would be even better. But, again, I'm just out here having a good time. I don't want to get in the way of any of the, the points leaders. Butch and Chad, they're up there battling for the championship. Nate's not here tonight, so this will be a drop week for him. But it'll come down to the last race, of course, in Texas. And I'm looking forward to watching that with you in the booth, Mason.
Absolutely. I look forward to having yourself back up here in the booth to call the final race here of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series, season number 4. Well, Rick, as we get ourselves ready to go back to green, I'm going to let you get back into your race room there and get back to green flag racing, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more word in here with you as the race goes on.
Yeah, and hopefully, I just don't want to get in the way of the leaders of the championship. That would be a terrible thing to get involved in something with them. So just trying to keep it clean and have some fun.
Absolutely, Rick. Well, good luck to you, and look forward to seeing you throughout the race tonight.
Thanks so much, Mason.
Have a good one.
Pace car drops onto the pit lane. Green flag comes back in the air. 3 laps away now, 4 laps away, if you will, to halfway here in the Indianapolis 503rd edition for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series. Brewpatcher, Davis, Simpson, Bogan, Roulette in your top 5. Willen and Dillon change for positions as they work off turn 2.
Moving and grooving, they indeed are out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway, looking kind of towards the midfield here as there's a little bit of shuffling happening here amongst the drivers, but meanwhile happening up front, Butch Davis, that 43 car, starting to track down the 89 of Yari Brewpatcher here. Yari going way down to the bottom there, doing that snaking maneuver like you were saying, Wesley. And right now, Yari is in a position right now where, man, he is a driver that he's put himself up here in the lead in a few different races, and it's all come down to whether or not he's been able to hold off.
Look at that.
Man.
Look at this snaking. Look at this slithering inside and outside down the straightaway. And as I mentioned, you can do that on the long straightaways. You can do that. You can't do it really on the short shoot. You might pull it off with maybe 1 or 2 moves, but not like the way we're seeing on the straightaways as they work their way now off of turn number 4. Here you come again, trying to cut off that air. Remember that air I was telling you about? That clean air, that dirty air that's trying to now make these cars become disturbed as they work their front wings and tail tank wings around, start, finish, back to turn 1. And mind you, 2 laps to halfway here at Indy.
Almost the halfway mark, 250 miles that we will have completed here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it's been absolutely fantastic watching it here tonight. And I want to take this moment here while we're looking at Kevin Young, Rick Ravon duke it out, as there's, quite the bit of battles happening down on track at this moment. And all of this action that you're seeing here tonight wouldn't be possible without our series sponsor, Ecency.com. Got to give a huge shout out and thank you to the folks over at Ecency for sponsoring the league and supporting the league in this series. It has been absolutely incredible, the amount of support and just appreciation of racing that the Ecency community has shown here with Sim Racers Edge. So really great to have them on board as a season sponsor, and hopefully get to see them going forward in future seasons, as it has been absolutely great here with the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series. As right now, Butch Davis still trying to trail in that number 89 car, and frankly, I don't think it's going to be too long. Here he goes down on the inside, heading into turn 1. The 43 car making the pass around the 89, heading his way now into turn 2. Yari Brewpatcher here kind of being left at a standstill as that 43 machine is just on the gas. He is pulling away from Yari here rather quickly, and frankly, it's going to be interesting to see here what Yari's going to do. He's going to snake it down into the inside of turn 3 and out of turn, into turn 4 here actually. Butch Davis on the outside, out of turn 4, able to get himself back up into the lead here. A little bit of shuffling happening here towards the front, and frankly, that goes for the rest of the field here as we take a little bit of a pan here down the front straightaway. Taking a look now at Jeff Hollingsworth as well as Timmy Bates, both in similar paint. I think they're actually teammates, if I recall correctly. I can't remember specifically, but the same paint scheme is usually a telltale sign.
And that's what I said a couple of times. I thought I saw a couple of cars that kind of had the same paint scheme. Are they teammates? No, they weren't. By the way, we are officially halfway now. We're 250 miles, now 260 miles, if you will, or closing in on the halfway point of this race here. You think about it, 2.5 miles is 5 laps. That's it's 5 miles is what I meant to say. Two laps is 5 miles. We've already clicked off close to 260 miles in this race here after halfway. Who's your pick to win? Now it's time to strategize, if you will, Mason Heimbaugh. If you're one of these drivers that are in at least the top 15, if you're 1 through 15 to O'Brien, you got to think to yourself, I've got a shot to be in this race. Now, mind you, drivers 15 are on the lead lap. Ernie Ludwig could possibly get back into this thing. Paul Crumry as well. But to do that, they got to have a bold strategy be on their side. They've got to be out of harm's way if a caution comes out to take advantage of the free pass to go back to the lead lap or to actually wave around, because there are no lucky dogs or free passes given. The wave around is being offered to get back on the lead lap. But again, if you're in the top 15 right now, Mason, you got to pace yourself. This is the time of the race where you want to knock off these next 50 laps. You don't want to be in trouble. You don't want to get caught up in any problems. Strategy-wise, you want to hit your pit stops. You want to be flawlessly. We now know, thanks to Mr. Rick Ravon, that there's only 75% fuel capacity. So that answers my question of why there is so many pit stops that are ongoing. Now you're thinking 22 to 25 laps fuel capacity now on a 75% fuel run here. Mason, you're thinking lap 100, 200. They just pitted a few, about 15 laps ago. So within the final 95 laps of this race, I'm thinking strategy-wise, my friend, they're going to pit between 5 to 6 more times.
At least, yeah. Just given the scope of things currently and what we've seen so far, yeah, I think you're definitely right there. We're going to see quite a few more pit stops happen, and frankly, that just really kind of throws a really big question mark on this field as far as who is going to be kind of the king of the pit strategy game here. Now, 5-6 pit stops that we have to make here, whether it's under green flag or yellow, it's tough. It's very, very tough, because you could find yourself coming into pit road way too high, locking up your tires, coming across the commitment line, and all of a sudden you got yourself a 40-second speeding penalty, and you've just dropped down 6, 7, 8 positions because you made a silly mistake trying to get into the pits. That always is a possibility, and frankly, we've seen a lot of very strong drivers here in this series that have made that mistake and have absolutely kicked themselves for it because of it. And it's, I don't know, Wesley, with knowing that and just seeing how this field is, how this race is going so far, I could definitely see someone making that mistake here before the end of the race, and putting themselves out of the lead of the race just because of a simple mistake like that. I mean, it's so easy to do something. So.
Oh, yeah, you're exactly right. You think of a guy like now Mark McFadden. I understand he's out of the race. He pulled in, parks it, hit the wall with the number 5 car, I think is what he was saying, and in doing so, that made him park the race. Towing is too bad. Don't want to wreck people, so I decided to withdraw. That's what Mark McFadden said. So he is out of the race. Butch Davis, Yuri Brubacher, Jeffrey Bogan, Chad Simpsons, Rick Ravon. We got a nice word with him a few moments ago in the broadcast booth. Someone that normally works with you here on the Alpha Art or the Alpha IndyCar series here for the the Sim Racers Edge program. Then you have Jeffrey Rolette, Chris Simmerd, Bentley Glazer, Jeff Hollingsworth, and Timmy Bates, your top 10. And for the most part now, as I said, Mason, everybody, you notice they're in their own little world. Mind you, there's other people around them, but the strategy-wise, as you look on the bottom right to the track map, you got a couple of gaggles of traffic, but for the most part, everybody is just in their own world racing right now. Nobody's being competitive. Nobody's trying to make any daring, bold moves. This is the part of the race where you have to set yourself up for the final quarter.
Yeah, we're just over that halfway mark, and like you said, this is the part where you know, as a driver, mentally it's okay. We've made it halfway. We've done a good job. What can we do if we need to do anything to improve? If we need to do anything to change strategy, you know, there's always, as a driver, there's always a million things going through your head all at once. I mean, you're going around a racetrack 200 plus miles an hour. You're going to be thinking about things pretty quickly.
275 miles into this race right now.
275 miles, folks. And like we were talking about earlier, these drivers are clicking off lap times of around just over 40 seconds. 2.5 miles is the length of IMS, and these drivers are pulling it off in less than a minute. So frankly, with how fast things are moving, you know, that just goes to show how confident you have to be in not only your racecraft, but your pit strategy as well. I mean, coming down into the pits is half the battle of these races.
You're exactly right, Mason. As right now we watch these drivers working their way between the short chute to 3 and 4, coming back to start finish. The leaders, you know who they are right now, what great jobs they're having. And amongst that, they're all scattered amongst lap traffic. Butch Davis is the man out in front. Yari Brubacher is there in second. Jeffrey Bogan, Rick Ravon. But the problem is now, as I mentioned, as they settle themselves in for this quarterly run to try to make it to the final 100 miles, I'm thinking lap 160, it's go time at the Brickyard. Lap 160, which is 400 miles completed, you gotta go then, because you got 40 laps to make a run. If you want to wait until 20 laps to go, that's 50 miles remaining in the race. You still got time. But honestly, right now, you see cars littered all around the 2.5 mile here in Indianapolis as your leader, Davis, is about to cross the yard of bricks. Now, Yuri Brubacher is coming to the pit lane, or at least he lost positions. I'm not sure what's going on with him. I think he is in. He is in the pits there on lap 113.
Yeah, and that's kind of, about what close to what we were starting to expect here.
It is, yes.
So with that in mind, we're going to start to see Butch Davis, Jeffrey Bogan, as well as Rick Ravon slowly get themselves ready to come down into the pits here. And frankly, with how things are looking right now and how spread out this field is starting to look, I'm curious how much difference we're going to start to see amongst really our top 10. I mean, where these drivers are going to find themselves out on track and how much distance is between them. I mean, these green flag pit stops, they have a tendency to kind of spread the field out to a point to where, you know, you have drivers that are looking at 10 to 15 seconds to the next guy in front of them. It kind of gets a little strange. So going to be looking at that, going to be paying attention to our leaders at this point in time as lap 114 of 200. And I think this would probably be a good time to take a quick commercial break and get ourselves a moment up here in the booth, wet our whistles, and get ourselves ready to call some more action here for the third running of the Indy 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge for the IR-18 Alpha Series, brought to you by Ecency.com. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and we will be back for more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad.
Imagine a world where you can connect and create meaningful communities with similar interests at the touch of your fingertips. And get rewarded for doing so. We at Ecency are building a platform to do just that. Ecency, set it free and be free. Go to Ecency.com to download the app and create an account and support the Sim Racer's Edge community.
I recently joined Ecency and discovered the Need for Speed community. It's the perfect place for me to share my simulation driving experience with people all around the world. Thanks in no small part to all the support from Ecency, Sim Racer's Edge is able to stream our races live each week for all our fans. I invite you to join Ecency today to follow Sim Racer's Edge all season long. Ecency. It's great. I'm having a blast driving around. Yeah, that was a fast lap.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah?
What are you doing, man?
I'm just writing a quick post to the Need for Speed community on Ecency.
A what for who community?
The Need for Speed community. It's the community on Hive that's all about racing.
How do I get into this?
Just go to Ecency.com, sign up for an account, and download the app.
Dude, that's really cool. But now you gotta go.
Yeah, I'm on there every day.
No. I mean, go, man. Go.
Okay, let's go.
And welcome back, folks, to the Indianapolis 500 here with Sim Racers Edge. As we've had a couple drivers make their way down into the pits. Butch Davis just recently did just that. Lap 116 was when he came down into the pits there. So slowly but surely we're seeing the field cycle their way through pit stops, through pit road here, just over the halfway mark in this race here thus far. And at this moment, we were talking about before we took our commercial break how we were going to probably expect to see anywhere between 5 to 6 pit stops here before the checkered flag flies here before the end of the race. And with that in mind, how is this field going to shuffle around? Folks, I want you all at home to give us your predictions and your thoughts for who is going to be the one at the tippy top of the field here when things are all said and done. It's lap 120 of 200. What are your guesses for the results tonight?
Well, I mean, I've already told you what I think's going to happen, but to be there, you got to be there at the end. So just be patient, guys. Be patient. And you're seeing more pit stops, by the way. I'm so glad we finally figured out the fuel. I was pulling my hair. I was like, what the hell are they doing? You know, why are you pitting 15, 20 laps ahead of schedule? Like, I kind of had my notes and paper here, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not right. This is not right. But obviously, if you're going on a 75% fuel tank, it's perfectly 20, 25 laps. And I think the reason why they're doing that also is to make the racing more competitive, to give these guys more of a shot, because you literally, with the 20 to 25 laps fuel run, now you're making it be at least 3 or 4 to 5 pit stops a race. If you would have done full capacity, you might have seen maybe a minimum of 2 or 3 pit stops every 100 laps.
Yeah, you know, and that's kind of a really interesting thing to do for a race like this, you know, is forcing, well, forcing seems kind of like a harsh word, but having drivers come in, I would say, more frequently for a race like this, and kind of having that little bit of competition there, if you will, it really makes for a very, very tight and interesting race, to say the least.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, for certain. I mean, it's just one of those things where literally you put yourself in a position of now, with all of these lengthy pit stops that are happening, more you double. Okay, you double what you do with your pit stops. If, like I said, if you're in a 100-lap average run with full capacity fuel cell tires, whatever, you're literally going to pit 3 or 4 times. Now, with only 75%, you can literally add on another 2 or 3 pit stops in between. And here comes cloud cover again. So what does that do? The cloud cover, it doesn't dry the track off. Sorry, it's not wet. It cools the track down. It cools the track down, so it makes you also save on your tires, which also can make you either stay out there a little bit longer, but then you're all cattywampus, Mason. When you're going off into turn 1 like they're selling off right now in the corner, and they're fighting the sun and the heat and the track temps going back up, then you go off into the west end of the speedway to 3, to the short chute to 4, back to the start finish, like we're seeing right now off the back stretch. It literally looks like it's almost nightfall settling in with that massive cloud cover. But what does that do? That makes your tires be warm, be cold, be warm, be cold. They're going back and forth, back and forth. So that also messes up the strategy on your car too. Oh, and mind you, we're closing in on 125 laps, 375 miles.
125 laps out of 200 here at IMS for the third running of the Indy 500 here with SRE, brought to you by Ecency.com. It has been a phenomenal race thus far. And like you were touching on there, Wesley, yeah, the cloud cover has kind of been intermittent here throughout the race. I mean, we've only seen it, I think this is probably the second time or maybe third time. I haven't been keeping track personally, but it's kind of been on and off, Wesley. You know, we've seen it kind of linger in here and there, and then it's back to being sunny again. So really, like you were saying, it starts to affect the car. It starts to affect your tires and the track as a whole. So, you know, when you start to see things like that, it really makes for an interesting race, because you're starting to wonder, where are those slick spots going to be on the track? Where are drivers going to start to have to be wary of, because the track is just starting to cool down too quickly, or your tires are cooling down too, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's a real balance game.
Yeah. Look at this. I mean, it's literally, and I don't know, Mason, if you could go in sim time, but usually the Indianapolis 500-mile race, the green flag drops normally roughly about 12:15 Eastern time. So you're moving into 325 miles at lap 130, okay? You're 75 miles to 400 miles on lap 160. And I'm one of those guys who just keep up with these numbers, these stats. So there you see right there, look at the sim time. So it's 14:55. So right now, is that just shy of 2 o'clock?
Yep, that's almost 3 o'clock in sim time.
It's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so 3 o'clock now. The winds are calm. Look at your track temp. Look at your ambient temp. You see the track temp, 120 degrees. Now, if we get full massive cloud cover over this racetrack, it's probably going to cool it down again to like 115 to 110. It's amazing what we can do watching these things right now.
Yeah, and you'll be amazed, too, seeing just the difference in drivers' pace as those weather effects start to come into play. I mean, it's subtle, but it's still there, and it's personally, Wesley, it's just amazing that the iRacing service is able to model something like that. I mean, you really wouldn't expect something like the iRacing service to be able to, you know, simulate that in any way, shape, or form, but they've done it, and it's done in a way that feels as close to what you would feel in real life. And I think they've done an incredible job of being able to, well, give all of our drivers that use this service a platform to really test their abilities in all different types of scenarios. So really great to see the variations here that we have as far as weather. And like we were touching on earlier in the broadcast, you know, hopefully we get to see things like rain in the future going into the future of iRacing. But that is not the scope of conversation here at the moment, as we're still just clicking off laps here. You know, like Wesley was saying earlier in the broadcast, this is the point in the race where drivers are just taking things easy. It's time to stay calm. It's time to just keep yourself out on track, click off laps, and get yourself in and out of pit road without any incident, you know. And right now, lap 129 of 200, Wesley, you were saying about lap 160 is where we're going to start to see those burners come on these cars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're going to start to see the action really start to fire up here, I think.
I believe within the final 100 miles of the race, which will be lap 140 if you go all the way to lap 160 or so, 165, closing in on if you're under 50 miles, you're literally, you can still be there at the end. But honestly, I really think lap 100, lap 140, which is about 10 laps from now, mind you. That's 400 miles into this race. That is when I think the aggression, the intensity, electricity is going to pick up. That's when you want to be there at the end. Remember what I said, Mason, when we came on the air, it seems like, close to 2.5 hours ago. To win this race, you must first finish. Well, you have crossed that 400-mile mark when you get here in another 9 laps. That's when it's time to lay your cards on the table, unveil the strategy that you have, and hopefully you've got friends or foes that will back you to let you win the third running of the greatest virtual spectacle of iRacing for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series.
And right now, as we are looking at Jeff Hollingsworth making his way around Kevin Young there, I believe, in the double O machine. Jeff Hollingsworth, the 97, working his way down the back straightaway now. You know, just kind of watching drivers just make their shuffles around the field here as we're still kind of in this state of just staying green, just staying out on track and keeping that momentum moving throughout this race here. So it's great to see all of these drivers trying to do everything that they can here to keep on the rear wing of the driver ahead of them, like Dan Brazington is doing here with Lyle Swearingen at this moment down the front straightaway heading into turn 1. But once we kind of, again, get towards that lap 160, 165 mark, I'm curious to know, after pit stops are all said and done, who really is going to be kind of, well, who's going to be at the top and who's going to maybe struggle, maybe fall back here in this race. I mean, there's still plenty of opportunities for anything to happen here, and frankly, I don't even want to jinx it, Wesley. I don't want to.
No, don't jinx it. No, whatever you do. Let's find Butch Davis, by the way, the 43 car. He's the leader right there in his own world down the back straightaway. Ray Vaughn, your colleague normally in the booth for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series, is sitting in a nice spot there in second spot, but he's still about 2.5 seconds back. As a matter of fact, 2.4 seconds back for Rick Ray Vaughn. Yuri Brubacher, who has pitted up 16 spots again, back in scenario land, the third. He is sitting there in the number 3 position. Another driver that has been quietly in the top 5 almost the entire race, might I add, as well, Mason, is Jeffrey Bogan. Bogan is up 6 positions in position number 4. The number 77 machine, and that is, of course, the driver of Chris Simard, is currently in the top 5. He's got a nice run going for him. Jeffrey Roulette, Chad Simpson at one time leading the race. He's back in 7th. Bentley Glazier, Jeffrey Hollinsworth, and Timmy Bates are your top 10. And again, these are your drivers that I think, honestly, they've been up in this race all night long. Now, 5 laps away, time to hit that go button. And I'll be honest with you as well, Mason, I think we're going to see a green flag pit stop right around the 100 miles remaining mark of this race, too. So I'm thinking 140, 145. If I'm called back up in our fuel strategy consumption, we're going to see them pitting.
Yeah, I have a feeling you've been pretty consistent here on calling those out here pretty much all race long here, Wesley. And I think, well, your spidey senses have been pretty accurate tonight, and I think Butch Davis, Rick Ray Vaughn, and Yari Brubacher, the top 3 here, well, it's going to be kind of interesting because they all came in different times, but only by a few laps. So these drivers all up here, once they find themselves into the pits, it's going to be quite the shuffle for them and really for this entire field, as right now all the way down for the top 6, they all came in before that 120 lap mark, or lap 120 mark, with the exception of Rick Ray Vaughn, who did come in on exactly lap 120. So Wesley, I'm expecting our top 6 here to come in a lot sooner than a lot of our field here. Here they go, Yari.
Yuri Brubacher is on pit lane. I told you, right around the 100 miles remaining of this race here. And I'm telling you, within the next 3 laps or so, Davis and Ray Vaughn are going to do the exact same thing. This is what's surprising, though. They're not pitting within sequence of one another. It's like they're in their own race. They're not, well, if you come in, it's monkey see, monkey do. You saw Butch Davis and Ray Vaughn pass him, and Ray Vaughn, once he came in, Brubacher says, I'm going to pit on my own. I don't know if that's a good strategy or not.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's, again, it's always interesting to see these drivers' pit strategies throughout every single race throughout this season. I mean, there's always a curveball that someone's throwing us up here in the booth. I mean, it's wild what kind of strategies these drivers come up with, and it works. It works. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. But keeping up with these drivers and keeping up with what they're doing out on track right now, it's kind of tough right now, folks. Right now we're pretty well spread out amongst the field here. Let's take a look at our track map, and that gives you a pretty good idea as someone eats the wall.
Wow.
Raul Alvarez.
Yep, there it is. Oh, there you go. There's more cars involved. Zigging, zagging through the infield turf and grass and pavement. And the yellow flag will come out on lap number 139, shy of lap number 140, which will be 350 miles into this event. We're closing in on 20 laps to the final 100 miles of this race, and the caution is out again here. What, fifth caution, though? Not many cautions of this race tonight.
No, not at all. And
oh, what a hit.
Wow. Ouch. Coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, he just lost it there. Number 9 off the racetrack. Cosgrove entry, number 9 up the racetrack. Smacked the outside safer wall barrier after slamming hard into the wall for Raul Alvarez. And I would be surprised, to suffice to say, his race is done.
Yeah, I don't think that number 9 car is going to be salvageable after a wreck like that. And frankly, you know, at this point in the race, that is such a tough way to have to call the end of your race. I mean, you have completed over 400, well, almost, I believe, 400 miles here in this race, and a simple mistake like that, no one else was around that number 9 car when that happened. It was all Raul on that one.
Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Davis and Rayvon. Oh, he comes in and pits.
Wow.
He leaves Rayvon hung out to dry. Everyone else is coming down to the pit lane. And here you go. Lap 140, Mason Heimbaugh. 350 miles into this race.
350 miles around Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and drivers coming in to pit stops here with the 6th caution out of the race here. And yeah, like you mentioned there, Wesley, this has been a pretty almost caution-free race here. Let me just clarify that.
I mean, it's not being 6 caution flags is not a lot. I mean, you know, we did a race with the Major Series a couple of weeks ago, and they went 14 caution flags for 200 laps, 500 miles. So, I mean, it's for the most part, it's been okay. We've had a couple of the cautions we've had also, Mason, have not been per se the big one. Massive cars, multi-car pileups. It's been, you know, fender bangs off the wall, or somebody losing it through the short chute and hitting the outside retaining wall, or like we saw, maybe what just happened to Raul Alvarez is probably the worst wreck we've seen of the race so far tonight.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. You know, and that just goes to show, and really credits to all these drivers here, just how well they perform in these races. I mean, not to say that we don't see the big one every now and then in the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series, but the fact that we are here today for the biggest race in virtual sim racing here for Sim Racers Edge, the fact that we only have 6 cautions and we're on lap 140, folks, it's incredible. It's truly a testament to these drivers, and frankly, it's really a great race for these drivers. I mean, you'd almost come into it thinking like, you know, we're going to see a good number of cautions, but to come into it and only see 6 of them, and we're just about to that 3/4 mark, man, I couldn't ask for a better race as a driver personally.
And it is not over yet. We're closing in on, again, 350 plus miles into this event. The lights are off on the pace car. Well, Yuri Brewpatcher played his strategy right, if you will, and he is back up in front again. Butch Davis, mind you, pitting back up to 2nd. Rayvon 3rd. These are names now. Remember, we were talking about who's going to be there at the end for the most part. For the most of this final strategy of the race, closing in on over 100 miles to go. Mason Heimbaugh, the top 10 has not changed. And by the way, look at Swearnigan. Remember him? He brought out the first caution flag of this race after spinning his tires in the short chute of turn number 1 and 2 at the drop of the green flag. He is right back in the hunt of things on the lead lap in the top 10 in 9th.
You know, and that... Lyle is one of those drivers as well that he doesn't give up. He does not give up easily, and to see him up here in the top 10 here in going into the final quarter of the race, if you will, I'm not too surprised by that. I mean, Lyle after having that after causing that first caution to come out, I think Lyle kind of put himself into the mindset of, let's not do that again, and let's get ourselves back up into competition. And the 68 machine, you know, we've seen him kind of just slowly working his way through this field here. And as we're approaching that lap 160 mark that we expect to see drivers really start to kick things off here, as I believe we're going to start to see the green flag fly here as the pace car has made its way down into pit road, and we get ready for the green flag to fly here once again for the third running of the Indy 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge. Yari Brupatcher taking the lead, heading on into turn 1 with Butch Davis and Rick Ravon following behind in second and third place. Chris Samard also trailing behind in that fourth place spot in the number 77 machine, excuse me. Wow, words are hard sometimes, Wesley.
Yeah, get a little tongue-tied there, if you will, but it's down the stretch we come, 355 miles. Davis looking for the lead on the outside. He snakes his way to the back straightaway, slithers up on the outside, pounces on Brewpatcher like a coiled cobra, puts the venom in. He goes to the lead on the west end of the speedway, short shoot out of turn 4.
Butch Davis on a mission here. Lap 142 of 200, and Butch Davis with FBR Motorsports currently sitting in second place in the championship. Yari Brupatcher on the inside of turn 1. He's going to retake the lead here, but Butch Davis currently right now fighting tooth and nail to keep himself in contention for the championship lead. And frankly, after tonight's race, if he continues on the path that he's going, he might be able to walk away with the win. But we have a little bit of an incident here with Chris Walker in the number 23 car. The caution does not fly, it seems. So let's take a look here and see what happened in the instant replay. The 23 car making his way into turn 1. He smacks the wall out of 2.
Tough break there for Walker, 23, the man behind the, of course, Sim Racer's Edge Alpha Art Series. And what a tough break here. No caution, mind you.
Yeah, and that's got to be a sigh of relief for the rest of this field, I'd have to imagine. I mean, you know, when it's this close to the end of the race, the last thing you want to see is cautions start to fly. You know, like you said earlier in the beginning of the broadcast, Wesley, cautions breed cautions, and that is absolutely true in both real-life racing as well as virtual racing. You know, it's very, very common to see once that domino starts, it doesn't stop. And it's, oh man, really would hate to see that happen here for our drivers. But we're continuing green flag racing here. Yari Brupatcher, Rick Ravon, they were almost wheel to wheel there for just a moment, separating out now as they head in out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway, heading towards turn 3 now. Look at this string of drivers. Wow, that was a weird sentence.
Yeah, you watch them work their way to turn number 3. You see Davis holding his line all the while. Look who's right there ready to go after him. I just think maybe he knows it's just not the right time. Rick Ravon, by the way, your colleague in the broadcast booth for the Sim Racer's Edge Alpha Energy Series presented by Ecency. And he is literally the New Jerseyan doing a phenomenal job, hitting his marks. Okay, he got a little high that time, but you notice how he kind of backed off, let him reel him back in. Notice how he's kind of staying half a car length back on the left side of the car. Now he's losing ground. He'll close back in on him as you're on board with Ravon. And the reason why he does that is he's trying to find that clean air, if you will. That clean air to make him get a faster draft on Davis. And Davis is now going to the bottom. He's going to the top. You see this in real life. You'll see it on Sunday just like you're seeing it tonight. And in doing so, they're trying to cut off that dirty air, that aero push. The clean air will help him make his move as he went to the outside into turn number 1. And then you see he lost all that momentum and he's got to go back to the bottom.
Yeah, and it's so easy to lose that momentum in races like this. You know, you overshoot your turn, you get on the brake just a little bit too much, and you are dropping back like a brick. It happens so quickly, and frankly, little mistakes like that are what make or break a driver's race. You know, it's crushing to see it, but Rick Ravon here, he's going to come back swinging here before too long. You know, we're still just about 53 laps left to go here in the race as we cross the checkered line.
And you got to think here also, 63 laps to be exact, if you will. You got to 53 laps, my apologies. You got to think here as well. Yuri Brubacher, look at him. He pitted when everyone else stayed on the racetrack. He stayed out, or he pitted on the last caution when everyone stayed in. And he has literally put himself in strategy right back in the catbird seat to the number 3 spot. And that's why Rick Ravon had to quickly get on the binders there when he was trying to snake his way to run down Davis, to allow also the opportunity to lose that ground that Brubacher had on him as we work on lap 150.
Yeah, and we got a couple drivers also making their way down into the pits here again. Ernie Ludwig down there in the pits with Jake Walsh as well. Jake Walsh has been down there in the pits for a minute now. Not certain what happened there for that number 33 car. But as we continue along, it's still green flag racing here, so no one has caused the yellow flag to come back out here here at IMS. So some drivers kind of slip in the eye of the broadcast booth here, as you know, drivers are fairly well spread out amongst the track. Well, that doesn't exactly prove my point, but either way, you know, we're seeing quite a bit of separation amongst our field. As you look at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you can see the track map and where drivers are currently placed at this point in time. We're currently locked on here with Rick Ravon in that number 7 machine, and looking right now at timing and scoring, we're seeing about anywhere between a quarter to almost a second gap between any of our given drivers here at this point in the race. Yep. And as we now come across, well, we're on the final quarter of the race here.
We're on turn number 3 and 4. We're at we're in the final quarter laps distance. All right, this is lap 150 when they cross the start-finish line for Butch Davis. 50 laps to go. This is now 375 miles of 500. In 25 miles, 10 laps from now, you settle yourself in for that 100-mile stretch, 400 miles to the finish of this race. And that's when I really think things are going to really change, and it's going to pick up to the finish here, Mason.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And right now, it only looks like our drivers are just getting things fired up more and more as we tick off more laps here. And right now, if I recall correctly, and just kind of looking at strategies right now, I think we're only going to expect to see probably one final pit stop here before we see the checkered flag fly here, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 2.
Jake Walsh is out. Yeah, I'm thinking 1 or 2 more pit stops, and that's it. Jake Walsh is out. He says, I hit the wall. No point of staying out anymore. So there you see another driver and his hopes of the virtual third running of the Alpha Energy IndyCar Series, or the Alpha Energy, or the Alpha Racing Sim Racers Edge Indy 500 is done here tonight at Indianapolis. So now it's Davis, Ravon, Brubacher, Seamerd, followed by Jeffrey Brogan in the top 5. Glazier, Simpson, Rolette, Hollinsworth, Swearingen, as I mentioned, had problems on the start. He is back in the dance. And again, you want to be there. You want to be there right now as you're closing in on lap 160, those final 100 miles. And I'm telling you also, you're going to see pit stops as well. And Mason, this is the time that you cannot get busted entering, exiting pit road, squilling your tires, smoking your tires, make a mistake, hit somebody on the pit lane on entry or exit. You got to have a flawless pit stop as well.
Yeah, you know, like I was mentioning earlier, we've seen it happen in the past where drivers that have been in the lead have come down into the pits in the final 30, 40, 50 laps of the race and had to serve a speeding penalty coming across the commitment line, and that has completely ended their chances of coming across the line with the win for a race. So it's very still possible that we could see any of our drivers here in the top 5, the top 10 do just that. Now, I don't want to jinx anyone. I don't want to curse anybody here, but with just under 50 laps left to go here in the Indy 500 here with Sim Racers Edge, you got to start to wonder, you know, we've been racing here for 2.5 hours now at this point. You got to start to wonder how drivers are starting to feel behind the wheel at this point. You know, driver fatigue is a real thing, and it can come back to bite you in the rear after a certain point in time. You know, you're sitting behind the wheel 2 hours, 3 hours, and you start to feel a little tired. You're not exactly up to the same level of attention that you had at the beginning of the race. So, drivers are going to be, I would say, not more prone, but definitely a little bit more susceptible, I'd say, to making mistakes like that. As, again, you've been in the race, you've been in the sim rig for over 2 hours, 3 hours, probably once we actually crossed the checkered line with the checkered flag. It's tough. It's very, very tough to be in the seat for that long and stay competitive. It's challenging.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And if you're in the chat box right now, we're closing in on lap number 155. The final 100 miles are upon us. There's massive cloud cover, as also you think the virtual sim time is close to like 3:30 Eastern time, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is when well, say close to 3:30, right? Yeah, 15:19, so it's close to 3:30. Look at also, look what I mentioned. Remember, it's 121 track temperature. The ambient temperature, 80 degrees, partly cloudy. It needs to be mostly cloudy or cloudy everywhere, because that's exactly what's happening. I think that's going to have a lot of emphasis to determine the outcome of this race. But if you're in the chat box now on our Team Goon Squad broadcast here of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series, Indianapolis 503rd annual race from sponsored by Ecency. Give us your pick. Who is your pick to win this race? Who has been the bold strategy man that has literally done what he needs to do, these closing on 100 miles, if you will, Mason Heimbaugh, to be there at the end? And I'll throw my first name in the ringer to get things started. And you might think it's a long shot, but I am going to go with Jari Brewpatcher. This man, I don't know how he did the strategy that he did, but look at where he's at right now. He's in the number 3 spot. Usually when I pick somebody, I jinx them and something happens, but I'm going to go unofficially with Jari Brewpatcher to win the 3rd running of the Sim Racers Edge, greatest virtual spectacle of iRacing.
Yeah, and Jari right now, he is doing quite the fantastic job. He's currently the hard charger in this race, up 16 positions from where he started in 3rd place right now. So Jari, like you said, he has absolutely done a phenomenal job in this race, both with pit strategy as well as just keeping up here in the top 5 and really the top 3, because we haven't seen him really leave this top 3 spot in quite some time. I mean, only maybe during pit stops where we seen the field get shuffled around a little bit, where we saw that 89 car maybe drop down a few positions, but otherwise Jari has shown incredible consistency throughout this race here. Now, that doesn't mean that we haven't seen other drivers do the exact same thing. Butch Davis, Rick Ravon, Bentley Glazer, Chad Simpson. I mean, all of these drivers have all done an incredible job in this race here, but Jari right now, I think, is definitely the one to pay attention to and look out for. He might be the underdog in this race here. But Wesley, now that you have made your unofficial pick here, I think I'm going to make my unofficial pick, and I think I'm going to go with my colleague here, Rick Ravon, that number 7 machine. He has done an absolutely phenomenal job in this race here. I mean, I personally, I wasn't exactly too certain what to expect here from Rick, but he said it himself. He's here to have fun. He's here to put on a good race, a good show for everyone watching at home.
And you got to remember, Mason, by the way, my friend, we've hit lap 160. It is 100 miles remaining here in the Indy 500. So at 10:49 Eastern time on the broadcast live coverage, we finally approached lap 160, 400 miles in. Settle yourselves in for the final century grind. But I will say this, if you remember what Rick Ravon said, he said, and I quote, when we had him on for an interview just before halfway, I don't want to be in the way of anybody. I know there's a race for a championship. I know that we've watched this all years long in the broadcast booth. But can you not say that you need to have a chance to win this race? Listen, you're in the hunt of things. I know you're going to watch these guys battle for a championship, but if you got a chance to win the Indianapolis 500, the biggest race for Sim Racers Edge and the Alpha IndyCar Series, which you heard that emphasis from Rick Ravon Mason when we talked to him. And mind you, here I go again. I called it. Lap 100 miles remaining, green flag pit stops, they're coming in.
Yep.
You're going to do what you can to be there at the end to win this race.
Yeah.
Rick Ravon, go get him.
Yeah, absolutely. Jari Brupatcher that we just saw come down into the pits there. So I think this is going to be probably the start. Well, it is the start of, I would have to assume, our final pit stop of the night.
I don't think it's the money stop. I really don't think it is, buddy. I mean, you're closing in on 163 of 200. I'm thinking you're going to have to pit again at lap 183 to 185, honestly. Honestly, this is the penultimate stop of the race right now, I believe, for these guys that are pitting here, Mason.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just checking my math here. Yeah, you're definitely right there. We're going to see at least 2 more stops before we see the end of the race here. And right now, man, it's really tough to say how this is going to kind of turn out for these drivers. I mean, Butch Davis, Rick Ravon, between these 2 drivers, there's just over a quarter of a second between those 2. So once they cycle down, go ahead.
So, Mason, I think I've kind of finally figured out the strategy that the man in 10th position now on the lead lap, last car on the lead lap, Jari Brupatcher is doing. He is literally pitting in sequence before the other leaders like Davis or Ravon do 2 or 3 laps before they pit. So in doing so, when he pits, by the time it all cycles back around in green flag pit stops, that's the reason why he's using that strategy of staying on the podium. He might not win this race. I know he's my pick, but the strategy of what he's doing is keeping him in the consistent run of winning the Indy 500.
Ooh, Butch Davis.
Cars hitting pit wall, you can't make those mistakes. We talked about that.
Definitely can't be making those mistakes, as I believe that was Bentley Glazer. No, that wasn't. That was Chris Samard, the number 77 car there, grazing the wall as he makes his way into pit lane. And yeah, that is definitely not what you want to be doing there, scrubbing the wheels as you make your entry into pit road. I mean, hopefully there's no penalty served for something like that, but either way, either how, you definitely want to avoid damage to your car. I mean, you definitely could affect the way that your car handles for the rest of the race, and really don't have any time to get it fixed as we see more drivers making their way down into pit lane, lap 166.
They're peeling in, they're peeling off. You're noticing they're coming in. This is the penultimate pit stop here for the Indianapolis 500-mile race for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha IndyCar Series. And this is go time, like I said. And remember, if you wanted a caution flag, you want one between now, after these green flag pit stops, Mason, and before lap 185. Because if you can do that, then you put yourself in hindsight of everybody being bunched up together. If not, you have literally set yourself up for a fuel strategy of this race, as now Rick Ravon has given up the 2nd position, or he's coming to pits. Simpson now the leader. And you're seeing these green flag cycle of pit stops. And look on the scoring pylon, my friend Mason, that you're producing. Jari Brupatcher all the way back up to 7th. You see the strategy of how he's climbing the scoring pylon? That's how he's staying in this race.
Yeah, and it's just impressive to see that strategy being played out by Jari. You know, Yari's kind of been, I'd almost say kind of an underdog in this series. You know, we've seen that number 89 car just throughout the season just get consecutively better and better every single race. You know, I feel starting towards the beginning of the season, Jari was kind of a midfield driver, and as the season has progressed, you know, he has consistently worked his way up here into the top 10, into the top 5, and as Chad Simpson, Dan Brazington now work their way down into pit road, Jari is in an incredible spot here in this race. Like you said, Wesley, he's positioning himself with pit strategy in a point that he's able to put himself back up into the lead once the rest of the field cycles their way down. And right now, Wesley, I think you might have hit the nail right on the head there with your guess of Jari Brupatcher for the win here, because if he continues on with what he's doing, he's definitely looking like the one who has it in the bag right now.
Can I remind you here that obviously now if we get a caution flag, it's going to totally change the strategy of this race. But I really believe that Yuri Brubacher is actually setting himself in to what is a fuel mileage gamble of this race. We're closing in on lap 170, which is 425 miles of this event. 75 miles remaining to the finish. Remember, as we said when we came on the air here for our coverage, there's no overtime. There's no green-white checker. You race to the distance of 500 miles, 200 laps. So with that being said, you're seeing Brubacher doing what he's doing, climbing and pitting at least 3 to 5 laps before the leaders do. But you also notice how good Davis and Rayvon are, because obviously we know Rayvon's pitted. Davis, I don't think, is pitted yet. So in doing so, you're staying right there in the hunt of everybody. There's Rick Rayvon right now, the number 7. When does he pit? He's closing in now on Davis for the lead. Put Rayvon back to the lead on lap 170.
Rayvon here, he continuing on his trend of putting himself up here into the lead and battling it out with Butch Davis, as well as Chad Simpson, who we saw him battling it out with earlier in the race. But now it's the other teammate of FBR Motorsports that is now going to be duking it out wheel to wheel with the number 7 car of Rick Rayvon. Coming out of turn number 3 and into 4, this has, with just 31 laps left to go here, 30 laps actually, once we cross the line, man, this is where the fire starts to burn real nice and hot here for all of our battles right now. Rick Rayvon, Butch Davis, we're still going to expect drivers to have to come down into the pits one more time before the end of this race here. And man, this field is just, it's full of excitement where no matter where you look right now.
So I'm predicting here lap 180 to 185 is when they're going to go for the money stop. Now, mind you, again, I think that Yuri Brubacher is setting this up race to be, as you're still watching now, Rayvon and Davis battle now for the lead, side by side. They're giving each other plenty of room. Butch Davis and Rick Rayvon going at it again in the corner. And as we watch this off the short chute of the speedway, we're going to close in on lap 180 to 185, I'm predicting, which will be at 450 miles to the distance of this race, 50 miles to the finish, 20 laps to go, 15 to go. That's when the money stop will happen. If this comes down to a fuel strategy event, Yuri Brubacher has put himself in the catbird seat. But if a caution comes out, throw that strategy, Mason Heimbaugh, all out the window, and it's going to be survival of the fittest then.
Yeah, that would be just, whoo, talk about just taking every single driver here and just spinning them on top of their heads. Having a caution come out here with almost 25 laps left to go here in the third running of the Indy 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge, brought to you by Ecency.com. Yeah, a caution this late in the race, especially right now, not what you want to see here, as right now we're looking at Dan Brazington, Timmy Bates duking it out for 11th place down the back straightaway heading into turn 3 now. It's going to be Timmy Bates on the inside of Dan Brazington now as they work their way down the short chute in and out of turn 4.
Right now, top 5, Rick Rayvon up 5 spots, back to the lead here on lap number 173. Butch Davis in second, Chris Seamert in third, followed by Jeffrey Bogan, Chad Simpson, Bentley Glazer had some problems earlier. He's right back up to 6th position, along with Yuri Brubacher, followed by Jeffrey Roulette, Jeff Hollingsworth, and Lyle Swernigan. And remember Swernigan had those problems on the start of the race. What a great strategy, Mason, to put himself, Swearingen back in the race, and he is in the top 10. Whatever happens as we approach now 25 laps to go here at 425 miles, what a phenomenal job for that driver to come back and redeem himself and get in the top 10.
Yeah, great work here from Lyle Swearingen. The number 68 car currently sitting in 10th place, and with 26 laps left to go currently, you know, even if Lyle only comes away with a top 10 tonight, with all that he's had to overcome in this race, I would be more than satisfied with that kind of finish here, given the circumstances. So great work there from Lyle Swearingen as well as the rest of our field here. Rick Ravon still holding on to that lead. Butch Davis sitting in second place with Chris Samar, just behind in third place. Jeffrey Boggin in fourth, and Chad Simpson in fifth place. 25 laps left to go here, folks. We are going to take just one final quick commercial break here in the booth here, excuse me, before we wrap up the coverage here of the action here tonight. But stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and we will be back for more of the Indy 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge, brought to you by Ecency.com. Go ahead.
And Mason, while we're on commercial break, in the chat box, it's getting good here. Give us your picks. I've only seen one or two people that have told me who they think's going to win. Butch Davis, Michael Bourne saying he's going to win. Bogan and Bates end up in the top three. Thank you, Charles McCormick. Team FBR for winners 1 and 2. Let us know who you think's going to win this race, because this is down the stretch they come. This is the finish when we return, bud.
Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, and we will be back for more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. And welcome back, folks, to the third running of the Indianapolis 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge. It is 22 laps left to go. The burners are on for all of our drivers here, as right now Rick Ravon is trying to build himself a comfortable gap between second place driver Butch Davis sitting in second place in the number 43 car. Wesley, we're going to expect to see drivers come down into the pits here one more time before too long.
That's right.
Whoa, here we go. Chris Samard going to be starting that cycle.
They've already started. I thought maybe they could go another 7 laps. Maybe there's some strategy here. As you see, who do we have on the pit lane? My goodness, the number... Chris Seimert coming in. So Seimert is in, Bentley Glazier is in, Dan Brazington is in. These are drivers that have been, for the most part, in the top 10. This is the money stop. You got to make your strategy, and it's got to be the bold choice now to be there at the end here now, Mason.
Yeah, absolutely. And for our drivers that are sitting in the top 5 positions right now, they have to be absolutely on their marks. It's absolutely crucial that they get it perfect. Jeffrey Boggin making his way down into the pits with Yari Brubpatcher in the 89 car. Yari has been consecutively coming down into the pits about 2 or 3 laps earlier than the driver sitting in the lead. So Yari right now, he is looking, well, we'll just have to wait and see once the rest of the field cycles their way through pit road. But
he's got to have a flawless pit stop. Remember that. A flawless pit stop. No mistakes for anybody in the top 5.
Yeah, and that, like we were saying earlier in the broadcast, you know, it's very possible that we could see some of the mistakes that, you know, we traditionally sometimes witness during pit stops. But right now, most of our field has done a phenomenal job during their pit stops. I mean, we haven't really seen too many incidents involving anyone down in pit road. I don't think anyone has been served any speeding penalty as far as I'm aware. So really great job from all of our drivers considering the number of pit stops that we've had here tonight. I think in total it's been, what, 6, 7 pit stops here tonight, Wesley?
And I would say as well, yes, sir, and this is the longest green flag run we've had of the race as well. This is going to be the 2 longest stints of the race we've went through with not having any problems here as we do approach this 20 laps to go. Now make it 18 laps to go. 460 miles into this race. So you settle in here for what is going to be now the final 18 laps, the final 40 miles of this race. And we go to the finish, 455 miles to be exact here on lap number 182. 18 laps to go. Green flag pit stops are happening, and you're in the money stop now. This is the money stop to decide who's going to win this race. You got to wonder if it's going to come down to a caution late in the race or race strategy to make things be interesting here.
You know, and with how close things are coming down to the wire here with 17 laps left to go, you know, it's very well plausible that, you know, we could see drivers getting a little close to one another as, you know, we see some drivers making their way out of pit road. Things can get very spicy very fast here as Butch Davis has made his way down into pit road now as well in that number 43 machine. So slowly but surely our drivers here in the lead are coming down into the pits now. Rick Ravon, Chad Simpson, currently holding on to first and second place here are going to be the next drivers that we expect to see coming down here into the pits. And look at this, Jari Brupatcher, who was just was behind him. Yeah, that is, you know, exactly what we have seen here out of that 89 machine time and time again. You know, very consistent here with Jari. So again, we just have to keep watching, seeing how this plays out as our field continues to work their way.
And remember this as well. Remember this. Simpson has to pit. Hollingsworth has to pit. Swearingen has to pit. Timmy Banks has to pit. What does this do when it cycles back around as Rick Ravon's on the pit lane? Butch Davis just pitted. You put Simon, Bogan, Glazer, and Brupatcher right there with one another. And I'm sorry, but the fast car of all of those is Jari Brupatcher, man. That guy has just been phenomenal in these fuel strategy runs. It's all playing to his favor right now. 15 laps to go.
Jeff Hollingsworth, the 97 car, making his way down into the pits, sitting in fourth place at this moment as the rest of the field makes their way around pit road. With 15 laps left to go, Chad Simpson currently sitting at the top of pole here right now. Chad Simpson, Lyle Swearingen, Timmy Bates. These three drivers all still need to make their final pit stop here before the end of this race here. And right now, Lyle Swearingen, you know, sitting up here in second place right now. I think this is the farthest up the standings that he has been throughout this entire race. But, you know, Lyle has had a heck of a race here tonight. So great to see him up here in second place now as Timmy Bates comes down into pit lane with 14 laps left to go.
Look at Simpson, by the way, 14 laps to go, 465 miles completed of the 500-mile distance. And as I mentioned, as Swearingen doing well, back up there in that number 2 position. Timmy Banks will now come to the pit lane. He's going to have to pit. The number 21 gives up his stop. Here comes the leader, Chad Simpson. Chad is pitting, this time by Lyle Swearingen will now cycle in as the leader. Rick Ravon is going to cycle back to the number 2 spot. Your pick closing in. Oh, and mind you, he's already pitted.
He has indeed. And Rick Ravon right now with Butch Davis currently sitting in third place behind him. Rick with almost 2 seconds of a gap between himself and Butch Davis once things are all said and done here for pit strategies for the driver that needs to come down into the pits. That is Lyle Swearingen now in the 68 car. Rick is put himself in the best possible spot that he could ask for in this race. So with almost 2 seconds of a gap to Butch Davis, well, actually Chad Simpson now in that number 42 car as he's made his way out of pit road, and he's going to be right almost on the rear wing of that number 7 car. So think again, this is how interesting green flag pit stops can be, you know, because drivers can come out of pit road and all of a sudden, you know, that gap that you just had is now diminished to nothing.
Who's your pick? Who's your pick to win it? It's go time here in Indianapolis. 12 laps to go. The cycle of green flag pit stops continue. And now here's the thing. We've not seen anything happen as far as problems on the pit lane. Late race cautions have not happened yet. Here comes the battle. Look at Swearigan, okay? He's the leader. Ravon in second, Simpson third. And you got to remember, Davis is right there within the catbird seat as well. You got to know, you got to pit. And I believe here comes now Swearigan coming in.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, like you were saying, you know, it all comes down to execution. That's really what it all boils down to. How well can you execute your pit stops, and how well can you really place yourself in this field? I mean, it's a tough race. It's really, really tough. And like I mentioned earlier, pit stops are half the battle in this race. I would say it's almost probably the hardest part of a race. I mean, driving is only half of it. It's getting in and out of those pit stops without fault. That is where things are the most challenging.
Look at, they work their way off the corner now. It is cycled back around to Rick Ravon, the leader. Simpson in second, Davis third. And now they're closing in on 475 miles completed and 10 laps to go. 2 open hands being shown by your flagman over the flag stand at the Yard of Bricks where the pagoda is laid at start finish. And this is it. It's all come down to this. 190 laps completed, 10 laps, 25 miles for the winner. Rick Ravon is the man out in front. Simpson Davis battle going to turn number 3.
Chad Simpson, Butch Davis back to their usual shenanigans. FBR Motorsports, these two drivers definitely not ill-familiar with duking it out with each other wheel to wheel, and Butch Davis taking that second place spot here. He is on a mission to trail down the number 7 car of Rick Ravon as he works his way across the checkered line into turn 1. How long is it going to be before we see that 43 car back on the rear wing of that number 7 of Rick Ravon as we work our way out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway? Butch Davis, definitely known for closing the distance between a driver ahead of him. Definitely someone that we're going to have to pay attention to. And let's take a look at your pick, Jari Brupatcher, sitting in 7th place here at this point in time. He's got a little bit of a gaggle of cars behind him at this moment, but Jari sitting in 7th right now. You know, the interesting pit strategy that he had here for this race, I mean, frankly, I don't think it really could have worked out for him any better than.
I don't think it's working for him. I really think he thought that he could take advantage of pitting early on the fuel my strategy run and then get a late race caution, I believe, and bunch everybody up. And I just don't see this happening right now. Everybody is strung out except for the leaders. Ravon, Davis, Simpson, there they are. They are in the hunt to win this race here for the Indianapolis 500. The third run for the Ecency Alpha Series Sim Racers Edge Indy cars. It's Ravon out in front. Davis right there, snaking coming off of turn number 4, back across the Yard of Bricks. He's trying to close and get away from that clean air to reel him in. Look at the big run Davis has in turn number 1.
Davis, the 43 car, he is moving and grooving his way out of turn 2 now and down the back straightaway. He's going to collect himself back up to the rear wing of that number 7 car here in just a few turns. I do have a feeling Butch Davis, you know, looking at just over almost 3/4 of a second gap between himself and Rick Ravon. Rick, according to timing and scoring at this point in time, is actually setting a slightly faster pace than the 43 machine at this point in time with 7 laps to go. And as we cross the Yard and Bricks there, 6 laps left to go now. It's not a whole lot of time left for the number 43 machine of Butch Davis to try and collect to the back end of that 7 machine. So, man, this is getting real tense here, Wesley.
Watching these guys work past start finish. This is another battle for position going on. Brupatcher and Roulette battling for that spot on the speedway. Closing in now on the 5 laps to go. This time by lap number 195 will come up on the scoreboard. It'll be down to the stretch. These drivers fighting it out. It is still anyone's race, if you will. Somebody trying to take it away as 487 miles are completed. It's time now for what the battle will be here for these final 5 laps, and it's Ravon leading. Davis in second, and cloud cover has returned, hovering over the speedway. Will that have a major scenario to deal with the finish of this racer on the back straightaway, going to the west end of the short chute in turn 3?
And a little bit of lap traffic is starting to appear in front of that number 7 of Rick Ravon. Let's see if that is going to have any hindrance to the pace of that number 7 machine. There he goes around the number, it looks like Lyle Swearingen there, that he just made his way around in that number 68 machine, continuing his way around more lap traffic into turn 1. Butch Davis now going to have to work his way around that same traffic. It's going to slow him down just a little bit, just making sure they don't get into the rear end of that driver that they have to work their way around. But either way, either how, 4 laps left to go here. And between these two drivers, it's only looking like Rick Ravon has this one in the bag as he's continuing to hold that gap between himself and second place Butch Davis at just over a second.
Man, how special would it be for Rick Ravon to leave the broadcast booth and have yours truly be able to join you, Mason Heimbaugh. Truly a pleasure and honor to be on the call. But your colleague, your broadcaster, your friend, showing his strengths also in the racing industry, a virtual go fast in these Indy cars. It's a 4-lap shootout. 10 miles, the same equivalent of the 4-lap average speed in qualifying to make it into this race, to make it into the real race at 234 plus miles an hour by the Sheriff Scott Dixon. He put a blistering lap in qualifying, and now those remaining laps to be cited. 7.5 miles remain. 3 laps to go. It is all Rick Ravon's race to lose. He's got a big, comfortable lead of 1 second over Davis as they come to the yard of bricks and 2 to go. 5 miles, and they're in turn 1.
The number 7 machine, after a long and grueling race here, battling with the likes of Butch Davis, Chad Simpson, among many other drivers here tonight, Rick Ravon has stood at the very tippy top of the field here tonight and has shown his dominance here after a hiatus from the seat in the number 7 car and coming back after taking some time here in the commentary booth with myself, calling the action here for season number 4 of the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series. And 2 laps left to go, and it's going to be the white flag as we cross the checkered line. It is the final lap here at the Indy 500 for the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series, brought to you by Ecency.com. Rick Ravon holding on to the lead here as he works his way into turn 2 and out onto the back straight. 2 more turns left for the number 7 car, and he will come away victorious for the 3rd running of the Indianapolis 500. Out of turn 3 and down the short straight into turn 4. 1 final turn left for the number 7 car. Rick Ravon nice and smooth out of turn 4. The final straight. And here we go. The checkered flag flies. Rick Ravon comes home victorious with the win here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Butch Davis taking home that 2nd place spot. His teammate, Chad Simpson, taking home 3rd. Chris Simard in 4th. And Jeffrey Boggin in 5th place. Wesley,
I don't know if there's a way you can go back, Mason Heimbaugh. What was the distance of that green flag run that we had since the last caution? I know we had 6 caution flags in total. I would say, suffice to say, this was close to a 130-lap green flag run to the checkered flag here.
Yeah, taking a look here. Just give me one moment to find out exactly where we ended up at. It looks like we've been green here for quite some time. Indeed, that is actually correct. Looks like we came back to green flag lap 141. So 69
so a 60
laps.
lap green flag run. Yeah, there's been 2 periods where we've had a lengthy green flag run here. So yeah, what a drive to take this race to the finish. Throw the scenario out the window for a caution, late race yellow. Fuel strategy? No, this was bold race strategy. Rick Ravon, class of the field. He was up there all night long. He did what he needed to do. Butch Davis, Chad Simpson, all of these drivers that we mentioned in the final rundown, they literally put themselves in the right place at the right time to win this race. And congratulations to your colleague usually in the broadcast booth, Rick Ravon, winner of the 3rd edition of course, the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Alpha Racing IndyCar Series presented by Ecency here tonight at Indianapolis. And what a phenomenal job. I think Butch Davis, if it might have been maybe another 5 laps or 5 miles, 2 laps, he might have been able to make a run for him. But man, Rick Ravon, the strategy, it's bold, it worked off, and what an opportunity for him to win here.
Absolutely. And you know what? He said it when we had an opportunity to talk with him earlier in the broadcast. He said he wanted to win it. And here he is, coming away with the win here for the Indy 500. But let's go ahead and run through our post-race results here at this moment. Rick Ravon obviously taking home the win here tonight, with Butch Davis in second place, Chad Simpson in third, Chris Simard in fourth, Jeffrey Boggin in fifth, Bentley Glazer taking home sixth place, Jeffrey Rowlett in seventh, Yari Brupatcher in eighth, Jeff Hollingsworth in ninth, Dan Brazington taking home 10th place. And why don't you round out our field here, Wesley?
Kevin Young will finish in 11th. Lyle Swearigan, I remember Swearigan got out the caution to start the race on the opening go in the short shoot. He came back to finish in the lead lap in 12 cars in the lead lap at the checkered flag. Timmy Bates will finish 1 lap down in the 13th position. Paul Crumry there in 14th. Ernie Ludwig 15th. Kevin O'Brien 16th. Ryan Cruz, Chris Walker 18th position. Rest of the rundown, including in this race, continuing on with the rundown, is 19th, I believe, is going to be the driver of Mr. Chris Walker. Ryan Cruz, Jake Walsh is 19th. Raul Alvarez is 20th. Mike Grundy Sr. is 21st. Carl Burke is 22nd. Jose Miguel Phillips is 23rd. Mark McFadden is 24th, followed by Del Weiser, Shane Loveridge, and Brett Beasley, first car to pull off of the race, in 27th position. There were a total of 6 caution flags in this race here tonight at Indianapolis.
A long, long race that we saw here tonight, and ultimately crowning one driver victorious, Rick Ravon. That number 7 machine just absolutely put on a heck of a performance here tonight. But we are going to go ahead and get ourselves ready for our post-race interviews here tonight. And first up on the list here, Chad Simpson, the number 42 machine, the teammate of Butch Davis, taking home 3rd place here tonight. Chad, sir, do you have a read?
Yeah, I got you.
Chad, welcome here to the booth, and, well, welcome to another podium finish here. This was, frankly, I mean, this is the race to watch. This is the longest race of the SRE Alpha Series. And, I mean, going into it as a driver, you kind of, there's a lot of things that go through your mind, Chad, but what do you do to prepare yourself for a race like this? I mean, you're expecting to be in the seat for around 3+ hours. I mean, it's a long race. It's a lot that you have to work through. So walk me through kind of your preparation for today's race.
Well, you make sure you got some food in your stomach, but not too much, because you got to empty that stomach before the race. Got to get my juice box so my throat doesn't get all sore. Got to get nice and comfy in the chair. But these races are long. So this is the 3rd time in the past week that I've sat down and run 500 miles at once, and I'm glad that this was the last one.
Chad, you mentioned the strategy of this race. It obviously turned over on its head. The last caution flag was around 60 laps to go. Did you think this race would see a late race caution, or was the strategy of the race with the 75% fuel capacity making you have to pit more than usual cause the outcome of the race turn out to be what it did?
Well, I came in a few laps earlier than I would have, just because I didn't want to get caught out by yellow. If we had stayed out longer, yellow comes out, we're all the way in the back. I pulled a strategy call on the last stop, went fuel only, and that gained me 2 positions at the finish. That was like the ultimate points racing call to get an extra 2 points right there. That should put me and Butch just ahead of Nate in the standings with 2 drops going into last race. From, I don't know, like 140 to go or something, I was running fuel mileage, and every time it was just kind of not there. And then we had another time towards the end where we were running mileage and it was 3 laps short, and I ended up abandoning it with like 45 to go or something. but really at the end there, I was just points racing and trying to maximize.
Absolutely. Well, Chad, it was a phenomenal race here for yourself tonight. I mean, we saw yourself duking it out, not only with your teammate, Butch Davis, but with Rick Ravon, the winner here tonight. I mean, it could have been anybody's race here tonight, and it looked like it was in favor of FBR Motorsports there for a while, and then it kind of flip-flopped around, and then we were thinking it was going to be Yari Brupatcher that could have came out swinging there towards the end. It was all over the place here, Chad, but it was a phenomenal race to call and to watch, hopefully for everyone watching at home. But Chad, on that note, before we let you go and crack one open with your teammate here tonight, is there anyone watching the broadcast or anyone at home or in the pit crew that you want to shout out and thank for your success here tonight?
And of course, Satellite Racing, FBR Motorsports, Mirandus, Ellis Engineering, Ecency.com. It's been our good sponsor. SimMotion, Sim Racer's Edge series has gotten pretty good over the past year that I've been here. The admins, they do a good job each week. You guys do a fantastic job on the broadcast as long as you got no technical issues. And so hopefully everything was good tonight. And the fan club, hey, we've got another podium.
Absolutely. Well, Chad, thank you for joining us up here in the booth, and congratulations again on taking home third place tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Texas.
Yeah, we'll see. It should be about a three-way tie going into the last race, so we'll see how that ends up.
That's going to be a spicy one indeed, Chad. I look forward to seeing you there next week.
See you.
All right, folks, that is Chad Simpson out of the booth, taking home third place tonight here for the Indianapolis 500. Up next, the teammate of Chad Simpson with FBR Motorsports. It's Butch Davis taking home second place tonight in that number 43 machine. Butch, we have seen yourself duking it out with multiple drivers here tonight, and more specifically with Rick Ravon there towards the end. You know, what was it like trying to match that pace that Rick was starting to set there towards the end? I mean, it just seemed like once we hit that kind of lap 160 mark, that 7 car just definitely seemed like it was unbeatable at that point. But you were starting to close in on him there towards the end, and Wesley mentioned there once we kind of closed the race off that if you had a couple more laps to work with, that you might have been able to track down that 7 car and make the pass. What were you feeling there towards the end, and do you think that if you had that time that you would have been able to make that pass and come away with a win here tonight?
Yeah, Rick's a beast at Indianapolis. All credit to him. Congratulations to him on the win. Fantastic drive by him tonight. I don't know that I could have gotten around him or caught him to get around him. I got close a couple times, and it just the dirty air. He would go into the corner and he would see me coming high. He would just slide up. He would change his line a little bit in the corner to throw dirty air on me, and I almost hit the wall a couple of times. And trying to think big picture here with the championship, going down to the wire here at Texas. As much as I wanted that, that win and that trophy, it just wasn't worth it to put myself in that predicament. So I took a couple swings at him. Pardon the frogs, by the way. I'm out in my backyard catching some air. I am in some serious pain right now, but shut up. But yeah, so I don't know that I would have been able to get around him even if I had gotten a little bit closer or had a couple more laps. He's just looking in the mirror, and that's what you do at Indianapolis. You really try to feed the guy behind you some dirty air to mess him up, slow him up, or whatever. And Rick's very, very good at that, and he proved that tonight. He was able to do that to Chad, and then Chad fell back a little bit, and I had a little bit more, I think, pace than Chad, just a hair more. And Chad was like, all right, your turn, you go try and get him. And I just couldn't do it. So it is what it is. I'm very happy with second place. I would have liked to win, but hey, man, like I said, Texas, I'm thinking big picture. So that's what we're kind of, focusing on here.
Butch, it's Wesley in the broadcast booth here, man. A great run, second spot. We mentioned just the green flag run. Last time the caution fell on that 6 yellow was around 60 some odd laps to go in the finish of the race. Had there have been, you think, more caution flags down the stretch, do you think it might have changed the strategy of the race where you might have been able to make a run at Ray Vaughn? Or we thought Brew Batcher was doing the same thing as well. When did it finally settle in? Okay, I'm going to have to pit, and we're going to have to battle this out to see who can be there at the line first.
Well, talking amongst my teammates, Chad Simpson and Dan Brazington and Lyle Swearingen and Jeffrey Roulette, we were all kind of working different strategies. I decided to just go earlier, a lot earlier than the other guys. Generally speaking, that's not kind of how I do it. I like to, I've kind of settled back a little bit, let the race happen, and then, make a move late. But I just kind of saw things the way it was looking to me. I kind of had a feeling that we weren't going to get a lot of yellows. We had 6 yellows for 19 laps tonight. That's not a lot in a 500-mile race. So, it was just kind of like go, and, I was working the fuel strategy back, and I kind of knew where I would have to pit. And, the undercut worked, the overcut worked. It really depended on the traffic. If, at the end there, Rayvon got a nice lead coming out of that last stop. He was able to get a tow over his last couple of laps that he was out before pitting. And that really helped him out. And then came out and got a tow. So, that's just the way it falls sometimes. So, I don't know that yellows would have shook things up too much. We kind of had, I don't want to say the usual suspects, but that's what it was. Samard was really, really good tonight. He was top 5 pretty much all race. And it's kind of to be expected from him. So, yeah, it was just, just go and try to get what you could get.
Absolutely. Butch, what a fantastic run you had here tonight. I mean, I can't imagine, the pain that you're probably feeling right now, sitting in that, in the sim rig for over 3 hours now, probably at this point. I mean, it's tough being in that situation, but you come through every single week and you place yourself up here in the top 3 week after week. So I got to give you massive props, but you were looking absolutely phenomenal out there. And for even trying to track down Rick Rayvon there towards the end, you were looking kind of going back to what Wesley was saying there as we were finishing up the race here. He was saying, if you had a little bit more time, you definitely could have easily tracked down Rick and maybe made that pass there for the win. But ultimately, Butch, there's still one final race left to go, heading off into Texas next week. And right now, you are looking mighty fine at the top of the championship standings right now. So with that in mind, Butch, I want to give you this opportunity to give your shout-outs, give your thank yous to everyone watching at home, anyone in your pit crew, or just supporting you in general in your racing endeavors.
Yeah, Texas is going to be a very good race. That's usually a very, very good track for this league. It's going to be very, very tight. A lot of varies in there. But, myself, Chad Simpson, Nate Siefker, it is, we're close to a 3-way tie for the championship lead right now after tonight's race. Going into that race, it may turn out to be whoever finishes ahead of whoever wins the championship. I haven't looked at the points yet. I don't even know if they're done yet, but so that's going to be a good, a hell of a race. Definitely want to thank our sponsors, Ecency.com, SimMotion. Thank all my guys on FBR Motorsports. Chad, Dan, Lyle, Jeffrey Roulette, Mikey Bourne, even, our race control. Want to thank all the drivers in the league. Without them, we don't do this. Thank you guys up in the booth. Thank my family for, letting me indulge in this little hobby of mine. And, shout out to my friends that tune in and watch this. It's just kind of cool,
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I love being here for these races, and I love sharing the passion with all of our fellow racers, as well as motorsports enthusiasts alike. So great to have you here, Butch, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Texas.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely, Butch. You have a great night.
You too, fellas.
Alrighty, folks, that is Butch Davis out of the booth, taking second place here tonight for the Indy 500. Last, certainly not least, Rick Ravon, my esteemed colleague here in the booth, taking home the win here for the Indy 500. Rick, I can't imagine how you're feeling right now. I mean, it's after being away from the race seat for so long and coming here and just crushing the field tonight. I mean, how are you feeling, Rick? Just walk me through your thoughts right now.
I'm pretty happy. I'm elated. I mean, the SRE Indianapolis 500 is the biggest race of the season. The Indy 500 period is the biggest race in the world. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, one of the biggest. No, it's the biggest race in the world. And they need to start saying that.
It is.
The commentators on TV and the racers in the series, the IndyCar series in real life, they need to say it's the biggest race in the world. Not it's our Super Bowl. No, it is the Super Bowl of all racing everywhere on the planet. And I'm just tickled to death. I don't even know what to say.
Well, in their defense, from one colleagues to all the others, Rick, they do call it the greatest spectacle in racing, and that truly matches to the sense of everything in the world of motorsports. But I agree with you on the same sentiments. Rick, the strategy of the long green flag runs, this race, I didn't think that it was going to turn out the way it did, but the fuel strategy, 75% fuel load, making longer pit stops than usual, do you think that made the outcome of the race? And can you just talk about, holding off the likes of Butch Davis coming after you and the strategy of all the other drivers, Rick? I know you made the comment at one point when we spoke with you in that number 7. Listen, I know there's a battle for the championship, and I've been in the broadcast booth all year long calling this alongside Mason. But if I have a chance to win this race, I'm going to go for that because it's Indianapolis.
Well, yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, I forgot. I think you had like 3 or 4 different questions in that. What you just said, I actually forgot.
No, it was just one. It was just that one question. I was making observations of everything that you were talking about.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
The question was basically, Rick, when did the time come in the race when you told us that you weren't going to try to battle for the win or try to be within the contention of these guys fighting for the championship overall, and you were just going to focus on, if you got a chance to win, you're going to go for it. When did that finally settle in for you that you're going to try to win this race, and you did?
I guess I would have to say that last pit stop, Butch went in early, and I knew he was looking for the undercut because I had, if I remember, we caught some traffic and I had about 1.5 seconds on him. So he wanted to come out on fresh tires and, balls to the wall. And so the very next lap, I went to cover him. And so I pitted. Of course, you never know if the yellow's going to come out. That could backfire. Chad took the lead at that point, but then I think he decided to come in as well. We had plenty of fuel to make it several more laps, but when Butch came in, I decided, I'm going to come in too, because if I can get a good pit stop and maintain the lead that I had on him, maybe I could hold it to the end. The dirty air here is just ridiculous. I don't know what iRacing did to, the track, if anything, but it's changed from just a couple of months ago. Seems like no matter what you do with the setup, it's still just ridiculously dirty air behind. And when I came out after that sequence of pit stops with the lead, I said, wow, I guess now it's time to go for it. So, there was no danger of trying to battle with anybody. So Chad started closing in. I started feeding him some dirty air to keep him back there, to slow him down in the corners. He faded a little bit. Butch got around him, and then he was the next one to start the challenge. And so I tried to feed him dirty air, and that started to work. And I thought, this could work if I could keep guessing right, hit the outside groove or hit the inside groove. I might be able to win this thing. So the opportunity was there, And, obviously anybody who's leading the race, you're coming down to it, is going to try to feed the guy in second place dirty air. And that's what I was doing, and it worked out. I'm just glad that I talked to Butch just after the race. He said he came close to hitting the wall a couple of times, and I'm glad he didn't hit the wall. I'm glad at least he got a second. I told him before the race, we talked on the phone earlier when I was driving my truck. I said, well, Butch, obviously, if I can't win this race, I hope you do, because, Butch is my guy. We're good friends, and I would love to see him take home the championship, and I certainly didn't want to mess anything up by battling side by side. Although we did have a couple laps there where we did battle. But Butch is the kind of guy, again, you could trust running side by side. When I was on the inside, I didn't want to push up, and when he was on the outside and take him out or something like that, I would have just jumped off a bridge if that happened. But thank God it all worked out, and I can't believe the Gould Charge is sitting here in victory lane. This is fantastic.
I can't imagine just how exactly you're feeling right now, Rick. I mean, it was incredible this entire race. We were seeing all kinds of position changes happening for the lead, and Rick, you consistently you were up there swapping places with it, whether it was Butch Davis, Chad Simpson, Lyle Swearingen even, Yari Brupatcher was up there in the lead for quite some time as well. But Rick, phenomenal run for yourself here tonight, and what a way to come back into the season after spending some time here in the commentary booth and taking away a win. But Rick, before we let you go and crack a nice cold one and celebrate your victory here tonight.
Yeah, cold milk, that is.
Is there anyone at home in the pit crew or watching the broadcast that you want to shout out and thank for your success here tonight?
Let's see. I want to thank Roger Penske. Why, I don't know. I just love him. I want to thank Rick Mears for being my hero, and I kind of try to emulate his style. I want to thank the guys that put on SRE. It's a great league. It's a lot of fun. It's run professionally. I want to thank you guys over there at Team Goon Squad. I can't wait to watch the replay of this. And obviously Ecency.com, that's a phenomenal app. I tried it out, and it's really a lot of fun. If you're listening out there, try Ecency.com. You'll love it. Trust me. And, of course, SimMotion. I want to thank SimMotion for also coming on board to sponsor this great series. I want to thank the Lord. I thank you, Jesus, for giving me the life that I have and the abilities to know what to do and go quick and be a contender out there pretty much every week when I decide to run anyway. I just can't believe it. This is my third league race Indianapolis 500 win, and I can say I'm a three-time winner now. I'm right up there with Bobby Unser and Johnny Rutherford, Dario Franchitti, Maury Rose, Wilbur Shaw. This is awesome. I love this place so much, and I love it so much we're actually moving out to Indianapolis in about 3 months from now. We'll be looking for a house, and I'm going to be moving out here. I can't stand being away from Indiana anymore, because every year my friends on Facebook are like, oh, we're at the Speedway, we're having a good time. Oh, look who we bumped into. It's Paul Page. I'm like, damn it, I should be there. Oh, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do that. I got to go there. They're at the museum. They're taking bus tours. I got to be in Indiana. I've wanted to be a Hoosier my whole life. And finally, in just a few months from now, that dream is going to come true.
Well,
back to make a new home in Indiana. Rick, I got one more question, Mason, if you don't mind.
Go right on ahead.
You got a 3-time win now of this race. Are you going to try to join the 4-time winners club like Elio Castroneves did in the 105th Indy 500 last year, and of course try to cross the yard of bricks for 4 Indy 500s?
Jeez, you know what? That thought didn't even cross my mind until you just said it. Oh man. I was actually thinking about retiring from online league races, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just be the guy that does the one-off deals and just do Indianapolis, because the tension before a race. I'm getting older. I don't really handle the tension like I used to. Although these days it's more like, let's just go out there and have a good time and see what happens, rather than, okay, come on, you got to win. It's win or nothing. Second place is first loser. I don't care. Third place, fourth, it means nothing. You got to win. I put myself under so much pressure. I don't really do that anymore. I didn't put myself under any pressure for this race. I just said to myself, let's go out there and have a good time, stay out of trouble, get to the end, and if you got a shot to win it, then go for it. But now that you say that 4th time, yeah, I'll probably join some Indianapolis 500 league races, but as far as being a full-time league competitor, I don't know. Most likely that's behind me now.
Well, with your third win of the Indianapolis 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge, Rick, what a phenomenal way to end off the race here tonight, and ultimately you'll be coming back down here and joining me in the booth to cover the season finale here at Texas Motor Speedway. So look forward to seeing that, Rick, and
I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a great race. I can't wait to see Butch, Chad, and Nate battle it out for the championship. It comes down to the last race of the season. I can't wait. That's going to be great. I'll be watching as a spectator right where I want to be.
Rick Ravon, myself, and everyone else watching at home, I hope you're all fired up. I know I am. Let's get ourselves ready for Texas Motor Speedway.
I might need to pop in again for Texas next week and see this battle.
Yeah, you better.
Wow, the point standings are unbelievable. Wow.
3 guys in the booth would be fantastic to cover this great series, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, on that note here, Rick, and for everyone watching at home, thank you for joining us both here in the booth tonight and coming home with the win here tonight for the Indy 500. Rick, thank you again for joining us here tonight, and congratulations on a incredible win here.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm on cloud 9 right now. Thank you. God bless.
Congrats, man. Congratulations. Yes, sir.
You, buddy.
Congratulations, Rick, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll be there.
All right. Folks, that is Rick Ravon out of the booth here tonight as we get ready to conclude our coverage of the Indianapolis 500, the third running here with Sim Racer's Edge Alpha Series.
Mason, I can't lie to you, buddy. I am constantly hitting the refresh button on the Sim Racer's Edge point standings for the Sim Racer's Edge on Sim Racer Hub for the point standings. And it's not updated yet. And oh my goodness, I can't wait to see this. I think you're like you and Rick summed it up. You're going to see a 3-car battle for the championship at Texas next week, man. Holy cow, winner take all.
Yeah, absolutely. Winner take all. It is down to the wire next week at Texas Motor Speedway, where we will see Nate Siefker, Butch Davis, and Chad Simpson duke it out for the championship. And for myself and Wesley Outland, this was the Indianapolis 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge Alpha Series. I want to thank you all for tuning in and joining us here tonight. And before we end off here tonight, Wesley, give us your final thoughts and what you thought of the race here tonight.
Hey, Mason, appreciate your virtual friendship, working together with you on other iRacing aspect levels, and you bringing me in here. Man, if I don't have anything going on next Thursday night, I'd love to pop in here at Texas and join you guys. Man, that was a fun race. The strategy of this race completely threw off its lid. We've seen Indy 500s of iRacing this year, my friend, that have gone caution-free. We've seen ones that have been wreck-fest. We saw this one that had caution flags in the first 100 laps or 150 laps. Down that stretch, it came down to who could hit their marks on pit lane, make that strategy, be there at the end. And then you got a guy like Rick Ravon, who's now a 3-time winner. And I wish I had a chance to have been able to prep and prepared for that, because I really didn't know. But you're looking at the unofficial results one more time, a 3-time winner of this event. You got to wonder if he's going to go for the 4-time club, or if he's just going to pop in and make this appearance. But a great strategy by everybody. Butch Davis, with all the things you said he's going through, he did a phenomenal job to finish in the runner-up position. You can hear there's mad props and respect for all of these guys when they're racing with each other. We didn't see anybody do anything stupid or intentional to wreck each other. It was just a greatest spectacle in racing here tonight, and it was fun, and I enjoyed working with you, Mason, and hopefully we'll do it again next year.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Wesley. It was phenomenal to have you here in the booth. Always great working with you, both here with Team Goon Squad as well as all of our other endeavors that we
Yes, sir.
find ourselves in. But again, folks, for myself and Wesley Outland, this was the third running of the Indy 500 here with Sim Racer's Edge, powered by Ecency.com. I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching tonight's coverage. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, to catch all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad 7 days a week. And I want to thank you all once again tuning in and watching, and I will see you all next week at Texas Motor Speedway. Same time, same place, and hopefully we will have our same special guest, Wesley Outland, possibly joining us once again for the series finale.
If I can make it, man, I promise you I will let you know. I keep hitting the refresh button to see the points, and they've not updated yet. So I just want to see how exciting this is going to be here, for sure. Definitely.
It's going to be a thrilling end to the season here next week at Texas Motor Speedway. And on that note, folks, I hope you all enjoyed the action here tonight, and I will see you all next week.
Driver Carrington